Folks, today is Wednesday, June 5th, 2019. Welcome to a special edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered. Today, we are celebrating the life and legacy of the queen of Creole cuisine, Leah Chase. We're going to have a jam-packed show for you, Carla Hall. Many of you know her. She is going to share her thoughts about cooking with the queen just 3 months ago. Also, joining us in studio will be Hell's Kitchen winner, Rock Harper. Also, Chef Kwame will join us. We've got a number of other people who loved and adored Leah Chase, who's going to be calling into the show. We're going to be looking back, and I'm going to play for you the interview that I did with her just a couple of years ago, where we talked in her kitchen. Also had a sit-down interview talking about food, talking about marriage, and also, again, the importance of living life and loving it. Folks, this is a special edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered, celebrating the acclaimed Chef Leah Chase. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah, it's Uncle Roro, y'all. Yeah, it's Roland Martin. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best. You know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, glad to have you with us today on June 5th. It was about 5 days ago. We lost the great chef, Leah Chase, of course, the queen of Creole cuisine, passed away surrounded by family members in the city of New Orleans, where she is from, where she cooked for so many years. Of course, we know her from Inductee Chase's restaurant, of course, the restaurant she had there with her longtime husband, who passed away. 70 years they were married. He passed away just a couple of years ago. She was an acclaimed chef. Of course, she served presidents, every single major figure you can think of. They, of course, came through her restaurant. In fact, I'm going to show you a video later in the show. Quincy Jones talking about going through her restaurant. And so what we have here is, y'all come on in. So what we decided to do was, versus to have a normal show, we decided to have a dinner party for Leah Chase. And so my man John Murray is here. Of course, he dined there on many occasions. We got Chef Kwame in the house. I don't want to mispronounce his last name, so you could go ahead and say.
Chef Kwame's fine.
What do you say, Chef Kwame? Rock Harper is going to be joining us. Of course, yesterday, Carla Hall wanted to be here. She's traveling, but I interviewed her yesterday. We're going to play for her, play for you that interview that I had with her as well. And we got a bunch of other people, a number of other chefs who will love and adore her, who are going to be calling into the show, sharing their thoughts about Leah Chase. And, you know, look, when News One Now, you guys remember, even Washington Watch, we had various tributes when African Americans who died, we did the shows on them. Also, Rock here, tell Rock, let me know when Rock gets here. See, again, it's like a dinner party, so you don't worry about it. So, of course, Greg Carr, chair Afro-American Studies at Howard University, he dropped by. Greg, why don't you pop over here, just sit down there. We were going to be joined by Tanya Lombard, of course, the niece of Chef Chase, but she's still grieving, and so she couldn't be with us. But again, we got a great show lined up for you folks. But first, we want to start this thing out. First of all, let me set this thing up. So when I interviewed Leah Chase a couple of years ago, at her restaurant, it was great. And she talked about fried chicken. She talked about gumbo. She talked about her favorite spaghetti and meatballs. She talked about all that sort of stuff. And so I said, well, what the heck? Rock, come on in. And so Rock Harper is here. Of course, he runs Hell's Kitchen. Rock is bringing in the fried chicken. So he literally just walked into the door. And so he's got the fried chicken wrapped up. Chef Kwame, he brought the jollof rice, and so we got that. We're gonna bring that out here in a second. I fixed the gumbo and went ahead and made the spaghetti. And so, matter of fact,
I brought Tupperware.
Wow, really?
And aluminum foil.
Really?
And
Really?
Ziploc. I'm black, so when
Wow,
I come
really?
to a good meal, I come
Really?
to take a good meal home with me as well.
Really?
So
That's real
I'm
black.
Prepared, yes.
That's real black. And so we got the, of course, the Rock got the fried chicken down there. And Rock, you may want to hold on up the bowl there, down there. So what I did was, so you got the meatballs in there, but also I make what I call Texas spaghetti. So I do a different little thing with barbecue sauce, Italian sausage. And so that's what I have down there as well. Matter of fact, that's the one right in front of you, Rock. That's that one right there. And so you, yeah, you go. So the meat, so the Chef Chase, her meatballs in there. Just tip it a little bit, so here we can get a shot of it there on the camera. So we got that going over there. Again, we got the gumbo here, and so we wanted to say, you know, versus your traditional show, we said, look, if you're gonna honor a chef,
that's it,
and you're gonna celebrate her life, let's have a dinner party. Now, some of y'all out there saying, why all these dudes up here? Literally, at least 8 different women we invited. Folks were traveling. They couldn't be here. So don't sweat. Some people are going to be on the phone. We got Carla Hall. So don't even try to trip. But bottom line is that's who could be joining us on set. So we're going to start this thing off first off. So 2 years ago, June 29, 2017, I went to New Orleans for Essence Festival. And, of course, as I always did, I stopped by Inductee Chase's to see Leah Chase. And so I want to share with you, again, a portion of the interview. So here's how we're going to do this. Here we're going to play some of the interview. We're going to come back, talk with our guests, and then we go back to the interview. So we're going to open this thing up, again, with my visit to Inductee Chase's. There we go.
Don't trust Roland. Look, my son was in the military.
Uh-huh.
And
I got you right here. There we go.
hold it, Roland. Don't you let me fall on this
I
floor.
got you. I told you I got you.
You got me.
Oh, y'all, that's the wrong interview. Okay, so here's a piece. That's the second part of the interview. The first part of the interview was when I was actually meeting her in the kitchen. So I want y'all to get that queued up so we can have that ready. That's the second part of the interview. No, it's not. No, that's wrong. So I'm just trying to tell you. Okay, all right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to first do this here. We're going to go to our guests first. I'm going to set this whole thing up, and then we're going to get this thing straight. But first, go around the table. So first, people at the table, who actually met Leah Chase? Who met Leah Chase? I did. Let's first talk about her. The fact that here's a woman who loved and celebrated, but who took traditional food there in New Orleans. And again, y'all, this dinner party, y'all can serve plates.
Is it somebody going to say the grace?
Lord God, we thank you for the food, thank you for the opportunity of fellowship, and the food be nourished to your bodies, your words nourished to our spirit. Name your son Jesus, amen. There you go. All right. So, who took food that in New Orleans, she talked about it, where it was always about French food, where she's like, no. Now we going to do the Creole food, which has now become the thing in New Orleans. Inductee Chase's flipped the switch for the entire city.
It was interesting, Roland, thinking about her life. One of the beautiful things about Nana Chase was that she brought all of black culture together. I mean, even though she's called Creole, it's interesting to see within her family, her mother's side of the family, how she battled even her aunties and grandmother about that notion. She said, I'm not quite sure what Creole is. We shouldn't have black people getting away from us. So you got fried chicken here. She said, if you're going to cook in our community, I want it all there because our people work hard. And I want to serve it with a tablecloth and some. So, I mean, ultimately, when we taste her food, we're tasting the culture of our people, it seems to me. And when I see you brothers and my friend Carla Hall, who went to high school with, actually, you know, I look at this, you all are the next generation of people who have said, our people created some of the greatest foods in the history of the world, and they should be able to enjoy that food and introduce that food, all of it, to the world.
So I'm going to get the interview set up. Y'all go ahead and have a conversation.
Yes,
I'll be right back.
I love to eat the food that our people have created.
No
you know,
question.
there's no shame in my game. I was excited when Carla Hall put out her soul food book because I love soul food. You know, everybody likes to say, oh, I love breakfast food, and give me sushi. No, I love soul food. And so I first got to eat at Leah Chase's restaurant, Inductee Chase, about a decade ago. It was maybe right after Hurricane Katrina. She was only opening up for lunch hours, and a diversity executive named Joycelyn Allen had taken me to Essence for an opportunity, and so it was the first time she had opened the restaurant up. And so Joycelyn's professional group went in and had the very first meal after Hurricane Katrina in the restaurant.
Took her 2 years to get it back open.
2 years.
So
to
you
get it
were
back
that
open.
first group that went?
We were the first group that went there, and so and prior to that opportunity, I didn't know a lot of her story. But the first time you meet her and the first time you eat that food, you become immersed in her and her legacy and her history, and then learning that she was the inspiration for Disney's Princess Tiana and the Princess and the Frog, and just all the elite and dignitaries and stuff that ate at that restaurant. It was a pleasure to go there, and literally for the last 10 years, I dined in that restaurant every year while I was there for Essence Festival.
You pick up anything while you were there?
Yeah, probably some weight.
John, you can cook though.
And the itis.
You can cook though.
Well, listen, I got a great cabbage recipe
Yeah.
that I've learned from cabbage and kale recipe that I've gotten for you, my brother. So,
Listen,
yeah.
well, you know, I'm pretty sure you perfected it by now.
Listen, it's pretty good.
Well, she is, I mean, you know, I had the opportunity to meet her for the first time this past October. Howard Conyers and my friend Adrian Miller and Zella Palmer, they had, Howard hosted Gumbo Jubilee, where it was a celebration of, you know, black foodways and, you know, gumbo.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of sort of people, chefs, authors, and just different tastemakers in the industry. We're all down and we were brainstorming. We had some workshops, and one of the workshops was at Inductee Chase.
Wow.
And she came out. She was just, she was going to come out, maybe she wasn't. First of all, I got to sort of, before I go into that story, I drove from Cape Cod, Massachusetts, all the way down to New Orleans.
Wow.
I was staying up in Cape Cod, and I wanted to do this thing, and I drove, and I was on a fried chicken tour. I think.
Come on, man.
I know.
Come
I'm
on.
proud of my fried chicken.
Come on. This
And
bird right here.
It's the best bird ever, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
Well, you thought like you need to pass it down.
listen, hold on.
Me and Kwame down here looking at
Look at the bird. Look, man,
pass the bird down.
Man said, take that bird
Now-
down that way.
I thought it was the best bird, and then I was eating everywhere, ate everywhere in about 6 or 8 different states.
A lot of places, man.
And then when I got to Inductee Chase's, I said, yeah, we gotta go back to the drawing board. I'm serious. It was just amazing, and I love how she, you know, really didn't apologize. It's not confrontational space for just cooking black food. We often want to reframe and call it something other than it is.
Right.
But
That back. I'm gonna do the y'all can pass the spaghetti on down. Go ahead, keep talking, keep talking.
I think what she was so important for me, what I got out of it is how there's no need to sort of apologize or over-explain. This is just what we are, who we are, what I love to do, and let's just cook some. It's good, it's great food with a tremendous amount of pride and culture and you know, and history behind it. So, and she was just so full of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Like,
the
I'm
key.
like 93, you know. Kwame, it's tough to get into a kitchen sometimes, and I'm like 93, Slim. I can't. It's no excuse. You know what I mean?
None.
Yeah, that was the cool
yeah.
thing about eating in her restaurant during the Essence Festival is that she would get really excited because, you know, most people don't realize this, but from an economic standpoint, the Essence Festival would take New Orleans and put it in the black for the entire year.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was a weekend that was once isolated in New Orleans. And, you know, it was too hot to be there. But, you know, Essence brought all these black folks down there. It's the largest festival in the world. And so she loved the influx of people that would come. And the fact that every time I was there over the last 10 years, except for maybe once, she was actually in the kitchen helping them cook the food.
She cooked most of the food.
Yeah, it was a privilege. And we would eat family style, and the food was always great, and get a little itis afterwards. So it was just really great.
Not a little itis.
A whole lot of itis.
Whole lot.
But then you get to the concert, and, you know, you dance it all off. So you'd feel good about yourself when it was all said and done.
All right, so we have the interview, the right one, queued up. So here's me, June 29, 2017, talking to great Leah Chase.
For 76 years, this has been the place in New Orleans to get some of the best food in the city. No, forget that, in the country. And so every time I come here, I got to go see Leah Chase. And so let's go on in here and check out, see what she's doing, and get some of this good food. Damn, the door was locked. How the door locked? We in Inductee Chase. Where's the chef of the house? I know she cooking something, because every time I come here, I find her in the kitchen. Where's she at? You know what I'm looking for. She ain't that tall, so. Let's see. How you doing? What's going on? How you doing? You all good?
Chases, we all.
What's happening?
Oh, not much.
Where the lady of the house?
Oh, she's in her kitchen.
Where's her kitchen? This way?
Right.
All right, y'all, we going her kitchen. She got her own kitchen. All right,
Right over here.
here we go. What's happening?
What's happening?
You know I can't come.
You happening.
You know I can't come to the city and not see you.
Well, I was wondering if you put me down like all the other men.
No, darling. How you doing?
All the other men put me down. You know, when you get old, they put you down.
Well, no, every time I come here, I got to come say hey.
All right.
I decided to bring the cameras this time.
You always bring your intimidating machine.
They're not intimidated. They just always there.
They tell the truth.
That's right. That's right. What you got going? What you up to?
Everything, man. Everything I'm up to. I'm getting ready to make a big pot of gumbo, and
All right.
I cooked my lunch. Got some tomato basil soup over there.
All right. Is this cabbage?
Cabbage.
All right then. One of the few vegetables I actually eat.
Oh no! Don't tell me you eat cabbage.
I eat cabbage. I only eat like 3 of them.
Oh, shame on you. Nothing like a good vegetable.
Well, you know, and it's perfect too because I've been on this 10-day green smoothie cleanse for the last 10 days. So it officially ends tomorrow, so I can actually eat real food.
All right.
So yeah, I timed it to coincide with coming to New Orleans.
All right. But in New Orleans, you know, we don't serve calories. You can eat whatever you want. All the rice, all the gumbo, all the fried chicken and baked macaroni, the jambalaya.
Yeah, but the problem is the clothes you brought, you're not going to be able to fit to wear it to the concert.
Well, whose problem is that? I look like your problem, because you got that before you left home. We don't put that.
Oh, uh-huh.
You see?
Uh-huh.
And you see all those nice shoulders? We put that under your belt. We don't like men with big shoulders. They with big stomach. That means we fed them good.
Well, good. Well, yeah, you got it going here. So, what's that? I see some corn and sausage.
Oh, I know you like corn.
I do. So, what's that dish called?
That's called makshu, just a little corn makshu.
Right.
You know, that's a Cajun thing.
Okay.
But, you know, if you can't beat them, join them.
Right.
So,
Right.
we in New Orleans, in the Creole community, we just call that stewed corn. But they say makshu, okay, it's makshu. So,
all right then.
And then we have the cabbage, we
Right.
have a tomato basil soup,
Okay.
and we're gonna give you a lot of fried chicken today.
And what my man? What he got going right here?
Turkey necks.
Turkey necks.
Everybody likes a good turkey neck. You know,
And that's what what's this here that's raw?
that's chicken gizzards that we're gonna put in the gumbo.
Okay. All right.
You know, you have to have some gizzards in your gumbo.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, you can't have gumbo. Like first we do the ham shanks in there. You see, I will make that much gumbo.
Right.
That's gonna be about 30 gallons.
Right there. 30 what?
30 gallons.
30 gallons.
Uh-huh.
Now, I can't make small pots of gumbo in my house.
You
so
can't?
I can't. That little 5-quart pot, I can't. So I have a 20-quart pot. I have 2 40-quart pots, and the 60-quart. We had to cook that outside.
Yeah, because you don't have a big enough kitchen.
Oh yeah, no. We got to cook that outside with the Bunsen burner.
Yeah. But do you know how to make a gumbo?
You know how to make gumbo?
All right.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
Oh, all right.
And I like mine spicy.
Okay, well, gumbo is always spicy.
Now we had a fierce fight on Twitter. So comedian David Allen Greer
Yeah.
swears that you must put okra in gumbo. Now I told him no, because my grandmother from Opelousas, Louisiana, my grandfather as well. I said the problem with okra when you put it in gumbo, okra is slimy. I said, so if you want it, you fix it separate, then put it in that bowl, but you don't put it in the big pot.
Well, that all depends on what you're going to do.
Okay?
Don't go around here telling people okra gumbo is slimy. It is not. It's because you do not know how to cook it.
Well, if it stays, I'm saying like after it's in the pot.
No, it will not. You just got to slow cook it and cook the okra good.
Okay.
And I cook okra every day, not slime.
But do you put okra in your gumbo?
Not in this gumbo.
Ah.
But tomorrow I will make that much okra gumbo.
Okay.
So all I will have in that okra gumbo tomorrow is shrimp. And maybe
Okay.
I'll put some crab. But you can make okra gumbo, but okra is a thickener.
Right.
So we don't use that. We use filet, which
Okay,
is the ground sassafras leaves.
Right. See, I use filet. So you and see also I like to keep mine simple. So I use sausage, chicken, shrimp. Now my grandmother used hen.
Of
The only
course.
problem with that hen a little tough.
But it boils in that gumbo, and boy, does it give the flavor.
That's
Your
true.
grandma was right.
Now what my dad does when he makes gumbo, and he taught me this, so he likes, some people like to have frozen shrimp because it's bigger quicker. But what he does is he also gets the fresh shrimp.
With the heads.
Well, no, what he does is we devein it, take the shells off, we then boil the shells, and then take the juice from that and put that in the pot.
That's good. But you know, you always take that head of that shrimp and boil it with your shells.
Okay.
Because that's where your flavor is.
So you're saying get shrimp with the heads already on it,
Head's already
slice that head off,
on. Take that, just break the head off.
break the
and
head
peel
off,
it.
put that in the pot with the shells, boil that, then get you a strainer and keep that juice and put that juice in the gumbo pot.
But I'll tell you what one thing better that I do, telling him everything, that he'll be running me out of business after a while. I take those shells and those heads, put them in a pot with a little butter, and let them cook down. Put a little water in them. Then I put them in a blender. Shells, everything in a blender. Let them blend, then strain it off. That is like
You
cooking.
blend the heads and the shells?
And then you strain it. You put it in the
Wow.
strainer. And then you got powerful flavor there. You can do that
No, I haven't tried that.
because you don't know how to cook. Your grandmother knows how to cook, but you don't know how
Yeah,
to cook.
my grandmother, God rest her soul, she actually could burn in the kitchen. My grandfather too.
Yeah, oh really?
Oh yeah.
Well, in my neck of the woods, men didn't cook.
Oh no. All the men cook in my family. We don't want women in our kitchen.
Oh no?
No. My mom taught my dad how to make gumbo and dirty rice. She can't even touch him now. She doesn't even. She
Go
does. Oh no, she doesn't even. If my mama cooked now, that's a miracle. My dad does all the cooking.
Isn't that wonderful?
That's right.
I think that's a nice thing to men to do, but in my day, men were not allowed in the kitchen.
Oh no.
Go out there, plow the field, dig the ground, do whatever you got to
So
do.
my grandmother had a catering business, so my dad cooked. My brother now runs our family catering business. He's an executive chef
Okay.
in Houston. So
Good.
I used to cook more, but I'm too busy now. So that way, when I go home,
In Houston.
they do all the cooking.
Nothing in Houston but oxtails.
No. I'm trying to tell you, my daddy. Okay, I'm gonna
Oxtails and chitlins.
I'm gonna bring my daddy back next time I come, and I'm telling you, you're gonna say,
Let
okay,
him cook with
yo,
me. I would see how good he can
I'm
cook.
trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell okay. That's a bet.
That's a bet.
That's a bet.
I'll see if he can cook. But oxtails and chitlins, that's Houston.
Oh, I can't do chitlins. I'll cuss you out. You do some chitlins. I can't do
No.
that.
You know, man, I had a man who wanted me to do chitlins. And he was a prominent attorney. And he wanted to do chitlins and all kinds of things, you know. So I don't do chitlins. So you know what I did? I have chicken necks. So when you take the skin off the chicken
Right.
necks, strip them up, you thought it was chitlins. With chicken skin.
See, that's how you do it.
That's how I do it. Mock chitlins.
Well, look, you and I are going to sit down and chat in the dining room. We're
All
going to talk
right.
about food and
Man, you look
being
good,
here.
and I'm proud of you.
Well, I
I'm
appreciate
really
it.
proud of you.
You know.
look good.
Well, I appreciate it. You looking great. Got the pink on. I got a pink jacket as well. I'm going to wear in a couple of nights with some white pants.
Oh, go ahead. About time men put some color in their life.
Oh, yeah. I ain't afraid of color now.
Don't be afraid
That's
of
right.
color.
That's why I tell me, I ain't afraid. It ain't too. They told me, they said, you know, it's hot in the kitchen. I said, yo, I grew up in the kitchen. I said, we cook with suits on.
That's right. You
Say
can
no
cook.
thing.
I love that. You look good.
Well, I
Nice
appreciate
shirt
it.
and tie. So you
Oh, no,
make-
got to do the ascot. I do the ass guy.
All
You know, I
right.
gotta be a little different.
But that's good. Always need to set a trend. I got a friend that's a chef. You may know Marcus. Marcus Samuel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Marcus wears the weirdest combinations you ever saw.
Yeah.
So I have another friend, Jawn. I say, Jawn, look at Marcus. Start dressing like him. Put some color in your life.
There you go.
But it's fun.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna head out there and chat.
Okay,
in a
thank you
second.
so much.
We're going to the dining room.
All right.
We'll be back.
Okay.
All y'all, of course, this is our Leah Chase celebration dinner party. Y'all heard her challenging me on my gumbo.
Yes.
Like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
She looked at you crazy when you started talking about her okra.
But see, look, my mom loves okra and gumbo. I don't like okra and gumbo. What, you like it in gumbo or don't?
I only like my mom's gumbo. That's it.
You say you only like your mom's gumbo? Like, you don't eat nobody else's gumbo except your mama's?
Good Lord.
Nope. My family has a gumbo recipe, and that's what I associate gumbo with. And I think everyone in New Orleans is like that. It's like the best gumbo is in someone's house.
Sure.
So like that's the gumbo that I love.
So if you don't eat that, you don't eat gumbo.
Sure.
Now, I'm kind of like that about potato salad. I know Roland doesn't eat any cold food.
Hell no. Hell no.
My mother makes the best potato salad, so like, you know, it is the standard in which I judge everybody else's potato salad by, you know. And I love the Caucasian side of my family, you know, and they often like to put raisins and peas and
Hell
and
no.
other things like that in their potato
Put that
salad.
bread pudding.
Y'all heard John. He just said the Cajun side of his family.
I said the Caucasian.
Caucasian.
The Caucasian.
Yes,
That's Cajun. That's the same thing.
My clear cousins, you know, they
Because
like.
my side is the Creole. We ain't Cajun.
But Roland,
Uh-oh.
I think Leah Chase was a little sweet on you. What was happening there in that
What?
kitchen?
Charming.
It was a little. The heat was on, and I don't
Till
mean on the
look,
stove.
Till he mentioned them oxtails and chitlins.
Listen,
Hey, I
mock
don't,
chitlins.
I don't do chitlins.
Mock chitlins.
I don't do chitlins. I can't
I
do
She
love
doesn't either.
chitlins.
You seriously?
Love chitlins.
You love
Yeah,
chitlins?
So good.
My mother
nah.
could cook them.
They're so good.
I had a birthday dinner one time,
Chitlins?
and the gospel
Yeah.
singer
How?
Ricky Dillard ordered chitlins
You gotta cook them right. You have to
at
clean.
Carolina
You have to
Kitchen.
clean them right. You have to
See,
cook 'em
right there. See,
Yeah.
stop right there.
Yeah.
That's the limitation. My grandmother, Lord rest her soul, Mel Lamont. Lord, they live 8 blocks from us. So I go to her house. I open the door, go into the house. The funk of those chitlins
Oh, yeah.
hit me. No, you don't understand. I turned right around. I was like, no! I was in the front yard. I was like, yo, what you need? I could not stand in that house with the funk of those chitlins.
It ain't happening. I had a chef that cooked chitlin loaf like every Christmas in a restaurant. Like,
It's so
and
delicious.
I grew up Muslim, so just pork for me was, you know, a non-factor. So it took me maybe 30 years to eat pork once I started really cooking. And then, like, the chitlins, I can't do it, man. That's the intestine. That's
One of
like,
my favorite parts of the animal.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it.
You know,
I just can't.
So
good.
growing up, my aunt Ann taught me how to cook, and she used to make me wash pig feet.
Oh, I was about to say, pig feet.
I used to have to clean the
great.
pig feet before
Pig
the hog
ears,
balls.
hog maws.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you know, it's interesting when you.
I ain't going to y'all house.
No, but
No, I'm not, none of us are eating that anymore. Though.
what you said
No,
was,
I eat it still.
and she would talk about that. She would say, you know, the best food is in the house.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you come into Inductee Chase's, I mean, in the early days, she said our people didn't really have money to dine out. It was, you know, she talked about, you know, what's my man, Marc Morial's father, Dutch. She said it was a few lawyers.
We'll be talking about Morial later.
No, actually, so, but she said, for the most part, our people didn't have money to dine. They would come out to drink.
Right.
And so it took a while for them to bring the food of the house into that space. She said people weren't ordering lunch and things like that. If anybody, the musicians like Duke Ellington and them, and they would eat late. She said sometimes we'd be open to 2, 3 o'clock in the
Speaking
morning.
of musicians, do y'all have the Quincy Jones video ready?
Oh wow, yeah.
Do y'all have that video ready? Let me know you have it ready. So I was on Instagram today, and Quincy Jones posted this about Leah Chase.
When I owned WNOL, Channel 38, the big TV station on there, every restaurant I went to, they'd ordered from Leah Chase, Inductee Chase restaurant first, because they knew I wouldn't eat anything but hers. And then she taught me how to make it. And I put a layer of white rice, sauteed soft shell crab on that and put the gumbo on top of that. She taught me that. She sent me the natural ingredients from the Gulf of Mexico. One of the greatest ladies I've ever known. Forget just cuisine. You know, she was an activist, big activist. She was something.
Let's talk about the activist piece. We're going to do so later, folks. We're going to be joined by former New Orleans Mayor Marc Morial, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. We are trying to get Andrew Young on the phone as well. I think he's from New Orleans. And that's the other piece. Beyond being this great chef, and we're going to talk. We talked with her about it. She's going to mention. We're going to play a little bit later in the interview, where she fed the movement. Many of those meetings in New Orleans, those freedom riders, those SNCC workers, those SCLC workers. If you were in that dining room, where on the other side of that wall, that's where they met, plotted, strategized. She would feed them, and they would go out and do work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go ahead.
No, I think that's amazing. You know, when we talk about, Nipsey Hussle and the marathon continuing, I question my impact. Well, I recalibrate my impact in this. We're sort of having a food, renaissance, especially in black food and black culture right now. To look at her, I mean, you talk about a marathon. I mean, there was no glory, like, national, there was no TV behind, I'm going to feed these folks my food and have all these. She was just doing it for the love of her food and her community and her country, essentially. I mean, I read a quote yesterday where she was talking about, she said she changed the world. The world was changed over gumbo and fried chicken.
Wow.
And so when you think about that moment, I mean, as a black woman, right, in food, during segregation or post segregation, you just think about, that's just really impactful for me, just having that sort of influence and wanting to do that. She really stepped into her calling. It's very empowering.
Absolutely. I mean, and like you say, black women, a black woman who took the baton from another black woman, her mother-in-law.
Right.
I mean, her mother-in-law basically ran the small little takeout place, kind of sit-down restaurant they had, while her father-in-law was out moving policy, as they call it. They wouldn't call it the number in New Orleans. They said, we're moving policy.
Well, in fact,
and then she kind of robs the cradle, right? She's 23, I think, when she marries her husband.
And in fact, she talked about
Does she? Okay,
that.
well,
She talked about the mother-in-law, the numbers running.
Yes, sir.
And this whole idea of how she was not smitten with Inductee Chase when she first met him. All right, here's a sit-down portion of my interview with the great Leah Chase.
Wait.
I got you. There we go.
Don't trust Roland. Look, my son was in the military.
Uh-huh.
And
I got you right here. There we go.
hold it, Roland. Don't you let me fall on this
I
floor.
got you. I told you I got you.
You got me.
I got you. Got the chair.
Okay, she got the chair.
We good.
Okay, what is all this? No, my son was in the military, and he had a major. And you know, my son is one of those goody two-shoes. I don't know how he made it to be a captain in the Marine Corps. Because he want everybody to have good treatment, blah, 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 blah. So Major told him, look, Captain Chase, don't trust your mama. So he calls me Major Hartley because I tell him, don't trust your mama. Don't trust anybody.
So how are things with you?
Things are great with me. I am really a blessed woman, Roland, thanks to people like you and people in the media who help me. And it's a wonderful thing that you do. I know you get criticized right and left for everything you do.
Don't faze me.
Don't let it faze you, because the media is so important. It tells the world where everything is, how it is. Now, you may tell it like we don't like it. That's another thing. We'll deal with it. But keep telling it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will do. Now, I was here, I think it was January. I spoke at Dillard University. And shortly after I left, you experienced a loss.
Yep. Yep. I lost Dookie. You know, Dookie and I were married 70 years.
70 years.
70 years, that's a lifetime. And it's too funny. People used to say when we got married, they told my mother-in-law, oh, this is not gonna work. This girl is gonna ruin your business. Because I was 5 years old, Dookie was only 18. I was 23. So they said, this is not gonna work. But Dookie had been on the road since he's 16 years old with a big band, a 17-piece band. So he was kind of mature for his age. But we made it for 70 years.
70 years. Wow.
And that's easy, and I tell that to all women, it's easy. You know how men are.
No, how are we?
You know, don't worry about them. Sometimes they stupid. So you just ignore them, let them go. Push them back, know when to push them out, when to pull them in.
That's how you got to 70.
That's how I got to 70.
Well, my parents been married 50 years this year, so.
They know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, they know what to do. You don't sit up there and go toe-to-toe with a man. That's stupid. You running the show anyway. You're the big boss anyway, so just cool it and let him make believe he's having his way.
Now, this place has been here 76 years. How did it start?
Well, it started with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was another go-getter. My father-in-law did what you call, in your neck of the woods, you call him a numbers runner. But in New Orleans, we're very sophisticated. So we call it a lottery vendor. Doesn't that sound good?
Yes, that sounds very good.
He was a lottery vendor, and he sold the numbers all around. That's how he made all his money. And you know, in those days, you played what they call a gig, 3 numbers for a nickel. Now, if those numbers came out on this 12-number list, you won $9 for your nickel. But Dookie, Big Dookie, we used to call my father-in-law, he didn't play for a nickel. He would be bet maybe $10, $15 on his numbers.
Wow.
His numbers was 3, 5, and 8. When 3, 5, and 8 came out, everybody knew Duck hit. So that's how he started. My mother-in-law borrowed $600 from a brewery to start. And every time the man would bring his beer, she'd pay him back a little bit at a time. Try that today. You can't do that. You
Can't do that.
Can't do that.
Now, obviously, it didn't start this size.
We were just a bar on the corner. Just on the corner. We had the bar and tables on the bar. But my father-in-law was...
And this is the original location. Okay.
This corner is the original location. But she started there selling her sandwiches because then my father-in-law was very sickly and ulcers, terrible ulcers. And he was always sick, so he couldn't go out to his customers. You know, you had your customers you go out to. So she opened up a little sandwich shop, and she would take the numbers in the sandwich shop and sell her sandwiches.
So it started with her. So how did you get into this thing?
You know, I don't know how I got in here.
Were you a dude?
Look, I was waiting as a waitress in the French Quarter, 1940, 41. And I said, oh boy, I like this. You know, you try. I'm the top of the line. My mother had 14 children. She raised 11 of us. So here I'm the top of the line. When they got me through high school at 16 years old, I was graduating from St. Mary's Academy. So I had to find something to do. Didn't know what to do other than housework or cleaning. So I came here and I got this job as a waitress. Had never seen the inside of a restaurant in my life.
Really?
But the lady put me on the floor. She told me what to do, and the next day she put me by myself. So here I am, trying to wait tables that I don't know. Lady comes in the morning, she orders hot cakes. I said, well, would you like some toast with your hot cakes?
You know what hot cakes were?
What? Toast with hot cakes? I want that. So you learn as you go. And then, you know, I would be at the floor, but I would move to the kitchen. In those days, people stretched themselves a little bit more. I would even go in the kitchen and wash dishes and look at the chef. And I always ask him, well, I don't see any ladies in this kitchen, no women in here. He said, because they can't pick up the pots. Oh, I said, wait a minute. I don't see him picking up pots. He's the executive chef. He's not picking up pots. Somebody else is picking up those pots. But then I began to really like it. And in 1945, I met Dookie. And it was unbelievable because I didn't like musicians at all. Hated musicians. I didn't like them at all. I liked people like boxers and people with physical strength. And here comes this little musician. And then we came in here, and I just came in with my mother-in-law and tried to, I said, no, on this side of town, we're going to do just what we did on the other side of town. Only difference in people is the color of their skin. Not Roland. That was so stupid. Because you have different cultures.
Right.
You eat different things. You're different. And I like being different.
Nothing wrong being different.
Nothing wrong with being different. I like being different. So I said, we can change. First thing I put on the menu, lobster thermidor.
And black folks said, where y'all get her from?
Yeah, that's what they say. Oh, she's gonna ruin you, Emily. My mother-in-law's name is Emily. Emily, she's just gonna ruin you. Who in the world want that? So I had to back up and start doing the things that I knew how to do, like stuffed chicken breast, maybe with oyster dressing, and jambalayas, shrimp creoles, and things that people like to eat. Then after integration came, then we were allowed to go in other restaurants, and they learned to eat more things. You know, to me, that was the worst thing that segregation did to us. Kept us from learning. Look what you lost.
Right.
Look at the resources they lost by not educating black people, by not training them, by not showing them things. Look all the resources we lost.
What was the first thing you ever remember cooking? Even as a kid, what was the first thing?
Here are in the restaurant. I worked in the French quarters. When I worked at the coffee pot, after Mrs. Moore was scaling down, she was getting older, and she didn't want this dining room with the tablecloths and all that. She was trying to downsize. So she opened up this place called the Coffee Pot, and it still exists. So we went to the Coffee Pot selling hamburgers and breakfast and things like that. So we said, you know, Miss Savoy, we would like to put on one hot lunch. People are tired of hamburgers and they're tired of sandwiches. She said, well, if you think you can do it, there were 3 girls. I was 18, the other girl was 19, one was 16. 3, we were in that restaurant. So she let us do it. Now, we don't know what the heck we're doing. We don't know what to put on. So first thing we put on was what we ate at home, Creole wieners and spaghetti.
For Creole wieners and spaghetti on the menu?
On the menu. Creole wieners. That meant you make a good tomato sauce, put those wieners in there, put them over spaghetti. That's what we ate at home. So, but you know, it worked. It worked? It worked. It worked. So sometimes I say, here we go back to depression. Creole wieners and spaghetti.
Creole wieners and spaghetti. You put that on the menu now. They'll say, I think she's lost it, y'all. I think she's lost it. Now, I hope y'all see why I wanted to do this, because it was just so much fun sitting talking to her, because of all her different stories. Joining us right now, folks, is someone who knew Leah Chase very well. He, of course, a lieutenant, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. Welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered. Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. Reverend, how you doing?
Roland, God bless you. Roland, this interview is a piece of artwork. It should be in the African American Museum in Washington, because it was more than food at Leah Chase. You know, it was between Houston and Atlanta. And Atlanta, of course, was Beeman's and H&H and Pascal's. And Washington was Simpson's and New York was Red Rooster. And these were our watering holes, our stopping places. So people in New Orleans like Mahalia Jackson and Reverend Bishop Jackson and Dr. King and Marc Morial's father, and all of us would always gather. And the thing about the outstanding food and service at Inductee Chase, it survived integration. Many restaurants went out of business. They did not have the appeal or the stature, or frankly, the other stuff that goes with a restaurant. And she said, and it became a framework even for white people. Sometimes you couldn't get in the place for white people. It became a frame of reference. And every calls me. I mean, Bobby Bluebland, I had dinner there, and B.B. King and I had breakfast there, and Jenna Taylor and Sam Cooke. Everybody stopped at Inductee Chase. Ms. Chase was always first off service and food. And when we were in the deepest dark part of segregation, couldn't eat out. Couldn't eat out. We always go and feel good about it. We felt we were in the first class place, and it was.
Well, Reverend, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. First of all, that's why also I created this show, is because I still contend that our heroes and sheroes, when they pass away, unless they are an Aretha Franklin or someone who has been accepted by mainstream media, they don't necessarily get their just dessert. So luckily, we had opportunity.
Well, Aretha Franklin, she's there, and Father Reverend Sheila Franklin, she's there. All of us, we met at Inductee Chase. We ate there, we met there. We organized strategy there. I mean, Dutch Morial, we organized his campaign for the mayor there. That was a big deal. When Dutch became mayor of New Orleans, that was a big deal at that time. One of the first mayors in the Deep South, my God. And mobilized all of New Orleans and the design housing project across the street. Reverend Paul Morton, when he was in his early beginning years, always eat at Inductee Chase. It was the place. It became like pastors in Atlanta, pastors, a frame of reference. In many ways, like Gladys was for a long time in Chicago, it was a frame of reference. And so we are indebted to her, feeding us and also giving us a place of dignity and decency. We made us feel good about ourselves.
Reverend, last question for you. How important is it for this generation and future generations to keep telling these stories, to remembering these ancestors, because nobody arrived where we are today on our own?
Well, the Bible says, remove not the ancient landmarks our mothers and fathers have set. And if you don't have a frame of reference, you are lost. I mean, if it's like a boat in the dark without a lighthouse, you don't have a frame of reference. I live in Chicago now. You have a generation of African Americans who are more educated. They've been to the Big Ten schools. But now we've lost all the black banks. We've lost the key restaurants. They had everything except a sense of entrepreneur, a sense of drive. Miss Chase she was looking for a way to start business, not just to eat downtown, but to have a place of business. She hired people. And people who came out of jail, many of them, Roland, who of course couldn't get in, they could work for her. It was a place of second chances. Everything about Inductee Chase made and makes sense. I come and know that I'll be there again in her memory and in her honor.
Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., we appreciate you joining us to honor Leah Chase. Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
When you hear Reverend lay that out, Kwame, it does cause you to say, wait a minute, hold up. A lot of us, we just went to the restaurant. But to think that when he made the point, but one of the things that survived integration, because so many of our institutions have disappeared.
They fell because of it. And I think that's one of the biggest testaments that I took away from, having Leah Chase like a living legend, while we were here. Running a restaurant is difficult. It's always incredibly hard.
Most fail. I've
had my share of successes, my share of failures. But whenever I thought about Leah Chase and what she did and what she had to go through, my problems were minuscule compared to hers. And that's why I honored at my restaurant, her quote is on my wall.
Which quote is that?
It's, everyone can cook good food if you just put a little love in it. And it's the truth, how you talked about the gumbo. You know, you're like, man, I wish I had this one hot sauce so I can put it in it, and I really like that passion.
I literally called my dad. I was like, okay, I need a substitute because I'm missing what I want. What's the substitute?
But that passion leads to good food because you're putting care into something, and there's no way it's going to be bad, you know? And that's what I think she was talking about. But with her just focusing on food, she was able to transform a nation by just caring about her food. So,
Greg,
I love the showcase of black art that was featured in the restaurant.
Oh, man.
I thought, it just added to the ambiance and to the historic nature of what she was doing and how she was doing. Because while you were there eating this great cuisine, you could also walk around and see. And sometimes you'd go back and see these pieces, and they'd be gone because folks would come and they want to buy the pieces and stuff. So I love the fact that she was about giving back and also providing a showcase for these artisans and these artists in New Orleans as well.
Now, I know you have to go. You have another engagement, but later in the interview, one piece that she wanted on her wall was a piece of artwork for George W. Bush.
Oh, wow.
And wait till y'all hear this. Wow. Now, out of all the presidents she served, wait till you hear what she had to say about George W. Bush and what kind of a man he was and how he enjoyed her food. It was an amazing part of the interview. Amazing part of the interview. We're going to be joined in a moment by Marc Morial. I want to now play another excerpt from my interview with the great Leah Chase. What is it about food that is so interesting? Folks in Louisiana, my grandparents on my mother's side, from Opelousas, Louisiana.
Oh, my God. Home of the good cooking.
Oh, absolutely. And they say for other people eat to live, whereas folks in this state live to eat.
We do.
But what is it about food that is just totally different than anything else?
You know, people come to my kitchen, Mr. Martin, and they ask me that all the time. It baffles them. What about your food? What is this? I don't know. We do, and they come to New Orleans and they think they're going to eat here and eat different. We eat just about the same thing, whites and blacks alike, because that's the way we came up. And I think it's just how we do things, and we believe in making a lot over what we do. Mm-hmm. You know, back in the day, the Creoles of color didn't realize how important that cooking and that sewing and the plastering and the carpentry, they took it for granted. They just did it. But it was masterful work. They took time and it tastes good. It tastes good. So, you know, when I came in the kitchen, big restaurants were not serving jambalayas and things like that. They were serving French food and things, cream sauces, shrimp Newburg, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So then everybody started coming to eat what we cook and the way we cook it.
And we changed them.
We changed them. You know, in this restaurant, I feel right in this room and in that little gold room, we changed the course of America. Because all the freedom riders that left from here, like Rudy Lombard, Dodie Simmons, and all those people that are at the castle, those people that left here, they would meet here before they would leave. All I would do was serve them a bowl of gumbo and some fried chicken. They would make their plans, they would go. Come back, clean up, bowl of gumbo and fried chicken. So I'd say we changed the course of America over a bowl of gumbo and a fried chicken. So we need to tell that to Mr. Trump. Give him a bowl of gumbo and some fried chicken.
Give him a bowl of gumbo and some fried chicken?
That's right.
Right, and he might act right?
He'll act right.
How many presidents have you fed?
I fed two here, and Mr. Clinton, I worked with him in Atlanta because he was a friend of the Aarons, Hank Aaron and his wife. So he would come to Hank's birthday, and that's where I met him. He is something else. I met Mr. Clinton, and when they introduced me to him, if you see that picture, I need to put it on the wall. You would think he knew me for 100 years. He didn't know me at all. Didn't know me, and I didn't know him. But that's how much charisma the man
Right.
had. And then I fed Mr. Obama, which was a delight. He
And who was the other president?
George W. Bush.
Really?
Now, let me tell you about George W. Bush. Wasn't our best president by far, but a nicer man you could not find. He never hit this city unless he sent for me, Roland.
Really?
Every time he came, he sent for me. So when he came, he sent the security for me. And we were having dinner at Commander's Palace. I get there to wait to say, well, look where you're sitting, Miss Chase, right next to him. He always sat me right next to him. I don't know why, but that's where I was sitting, right next to him. So when I was at the dinner, he said, do you want to fix breakfast for me? God, no, I don't, but how you tell the president no? You don't tell the president no, you say, yes, I'm going to fix this breakfast. The man came the next morning with the president of Mexico and the prime minister of Canada. No fanfare, no nothing. And the pictures on the wall out there, I cooked them quail and grits and shrimp. Oh, he loved it. But he was just kind to me, and I still hear from his people. I said, well, he's painting. I don't see a painting on my wall by George W. Bush. You better do something about
You told his people that?
I told that to Carl Rove. Yeah, give me a paint.
Well, you know what?
Wait, now President Carter sold a paint for $500,000, so I might not get a George W. Bush.
Well, I being a native Texan, I'll also put a phone call in so we can make that happen.
Yeah, he was a kind man, and I was really proud of his mother because, you know, you educate children and you bring them up, and they may not do their job to perfection, but if they're kind, that's a plus because there's no excuse for people to be ugly. I don't care what you do, you don't have to be ugly. And he was a real kind man.
Okay.
He ate here twice, and here comes the media. They want to know why he ate here twice. He didn't eat anywhere else twice. I said, I don't
Easy.
know.
The food's good.
Yeah, he enjoyed it. So, and he was really kind to me. He really was.
Okay.
So I'll never forget him for that.
But we'll tell that Trump fella. Yeah, maybe some food would change him. All he does is eat McDonald's and eats his steak with ketchup.
Oh Lord, ketchup.
He eats steak with ketchup.
Oh my God, he would. Oh, ask Mr. Obama about Mr. Obama and ketchup. No, Mr. Obama came here, and first thing he could do is order his gumbo. That's all well and good. And I said, I will fry your chicken. Chicken can hold on the plain cold. You can. He sits down with his gumbo, and he takes the hot sauce in my gumbo.
Hadn't even tasted it yet.
I said, oh, Lord, Mr. Obama, you don't put that stuff in my gumbo.
He hadn't even tasted it yet?
Never tasted
Oh, no. My daddy would cuss me out if I did that.
So now the neighborhood, you know how my neighbors are. Some of them were good people. Some of them were the worst people in the world, but they were my policemen.
Right.
They were everything to me. So they said, Miss Dookie, you told him right. Don't be messing up your gumbo.
Now, I take it he didn't do that again.
No, he didn't do that again. He never forgot it because the world knew Mr. Obama put hot stuff in Leah's gumbo.
Rock Harper, it did go national when Obama put hot sauce on Leah Chase's gumbo.
Did it?
That thing went all over the country.
On the front page of the New York Times, the obituary had a picture of Obama, and it made that point on the front page of yesterday's New York Times.
Really?
He messed up the gumbo. No question, tried to mess up the gumbo.
As a chef, I kind of, okay, yeah, you got to live with that one, Mr. President.
Oh yeah, no, he taking that L.
Yeah.
he taking that L.
But it's also important not to miss when she said her hood folks, because she could have moved many times. They wanted her to move across the street after Katrina. You know, here's your chance, housing projects. But that is because she wouldn't move because she said, if I move, this neighborhood flattens.
She also they never got hit.
No, they didn't. The artwork, which is the
She said no one touched that restaurant.
And when you think about whatever she said about
they never got robbed.
Right.
No one ever stoned that place. that was a monument. Nobody touched Dookie Chase's.
And it's important, like I said, that artwork alone. Who cares about George W. Bush's painting? She got paintings from Jacob Lawrence, Elizabeth Catlett, Lois May Lou Jones, you name it, the great John Biggers, many of them free. They just gave them. She was the first person of any background to put artwork in restaurants.
Well, she said a lot of folks gave her artwork to feed them.
Yes. Yes.
And then she was like, that thing worth something now.
But to your point, Roland, they could have broken in on that artwork alone, brother. I mean, priceless. You can't. But the point is that you could walk in there across the street, get a meal. If you didn't have any money, work at the restaurant, and you're walking underneath artwork that is in art galleries around the world now, that if it were appraised at a number, that would blow the minds of the people. But it was in the neighborhood. She never put Dookie Chase's out of the reach of the people that made her.
Yeah. Marc Morial, of course, longtime mayor of New Orleans. His father, Dutch Morial, the first black mayor of New Orleans. He joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Marc, of course, now the CEO of National Urban League. Glad to have you. I wanted to do this again, not because I knew her, I interviewed her, but also because the nation really needs to understand the institution that she was, not just for New Orleans or for Louisiana, but really for Black America and the United States.
Yeah, and like so many African-American restaurants, to really understand Leah Chase and the Chase family, you got to go back to the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s, where Dookie Chase was a restaurant, a bar, and a takeout. But what it was a community meeting place, a community gathering place. Look, I remember the upstairs room that everyone has talked about. I remember that room. I was in that room many, many times as a boy and as a young man. The upstairs room that you couldn't find unless you knew where it was, where many of the civil rights meetings took place in the 1950s and the 1960s. Dookie Chase was a place where strategy was made, where plans were undertaken, where marches were discussed, where political movements were born. The Chases were extremely close. Mrs. Chase's mother-in-law and father-in-law were very close to my grandparents. Mrs. Chase and my father were like a play brother and play sister. When he ran for mayor the first time in 1977, the Chases were one of the first families to make a major contribution to his candidacy when he was a long shot a candidate. During my time, it was a place where we met. When the National Urban League hosted our conference there in 2012, we rented out the entire restaurant to be able to share with guests. And so it was a community gathering place. Now, Mrs. Chase was a woman of incredible wisdom and insight and kindness and generosity and just a unique person, a tremendous person. Last time I saw her just a month or two ago, she was in her kitchen, sitting down. She was taking corn off the cob to make one of her famous crab and corn soups. So she worked until she could not work anymore, and people came there to pay homage to Mrs. Chase. The fact that the Bushes and Bush and Obama as presidents ate there, I just think demonstrated what she meant to the nation. But, this is where Ray Charles, this is where Marvin Gaye, this is where Louis Armstrong, this is where all of the great Martin Luther King and Thurgood Marshall, this is where they ate when they visited New Orleans in the 1950s and the 1960s. And it was that kind of place. And I'm so just thankful to you, Roland, for paying tribute to our contribution to the nation and for devoting a great deal of time to help people recognize her. And I want people to have the confidence. There's another generation of Chases. Her grandson is a professionally trained chef who has his own catering business. Her daughter, they're going to continue. They'll continue. It'll never be the same without Leah. But it's going to be Dookie Chase's. If they just keep those secret recipes going that have been passed down, it's going to be great for many, many generations to come.
Well, Marc, I'm glad you said that. There was somebody who came to our Instagram page who said that they planned on going to her restaurant next month for Essence Fest, and now that she died, they were not. I said, no, you are to go and to honor her.
You are to go. Honor her, and they will be there. They will continue. Look, since I've been going there, Roland, since I was a little boy with my grandparents and my parents, and I go back in the kitchen every time I visit. The people who are back there were like Mrs. Chase. They've worked there for years. They were stalwarts. They were dedicated, and it's just an incredible feeling to go into Inductee Chase's and to go back into the kitchen. And, not a lot of restaurants will welcome people back in the kitchen. But she said, come on back and say hi to me.
Yep.
Go back there and say hello to her, take a selfie with her. And she said, what you doing now, baby? What you doing now? And just an incredible woman. And, look, this great woman lived to be 96.
Yes.
What a life. Almost a century. She kept on, keeping on until she could go no more.
Absolutely. Marc Morial.
God called him. Hey, Roland, thank you. I'll see you at Essence.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And Kwame, I mean, literally, she was in the kitchen
every day
to the very end.
I believe it. I mean, I watched her get a Lifetime Achievement Award at the James Beard Foundation, and that was extremely inspiring for me, to see a woman of color, but also to know her legacy, that she earned it. She lived a lifetime, and
even though they gave it to her when she was 93.
They should have given it to her before, but it's fine.
I'm just saying.
She was recognized.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
And it's good to be recognized, and especially when your work transcends food and it transcends the art that you're really focused on. That's when you know you've made a huge impact.
Jawn, I know you got to go. Final word.
Listen, well, first of all, I want to thank you all for the wonderful food here tonight.
All right.
I'm going to begin to prepare my exit package.
What we are going to do before you leave is compare chicken bones, because
I think you may have
I'm a Nigerian.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Right, you clean that sucker.
Mama,
Right.
She sucked
Right, you clean. Damn, you. Kwame clean that bone.
You got to zoom in on this.
Yo, zoom in on Kwame's bone.
Yeah, you definitely Nigerian, because I see the marrow hanging out.
Oh, yeah. I'm not done either.
Kwame cleaned the hell out of that chicken.
Put yours up. Put yours up.
Yeah.
No, it's not clear.
Oh yeah, John bougie. That's a bougie wing right there.
When I'm around my clear cousins, I do eat my fried chicken with a knife. Yes.
Is that paprika?
But I'm excited to be a part of this. I'm excited to have met this woman and had dined at her table. And I'm excited to see my brothers here, Kwame and Rock, be inspired by her journey. I'm excited that you have this Carla Hall interview later in the show where she talked about her new book, the new soul food book, and really revisiting our roots. And we as people of color have to stop being ashamed of our foundation and ashamed of our legacy. And we've got to stop letting other people, mainstream culture, tell us that things aren't good for us and our culture isn't what's good about us. And so embracing that, celebrating that, and remembering that continues our legacy. It advances our history, because if we don't know where we've been, we don't know where we're going. And so, and I know that I'm going somewhere soon, but I'm going to be taking wonderful leftovers with me. And I'm going to be thinking about you guys as I eat your great food throughout the day tomorrow during lunch.
You might be the realest one here, man. You brought the foil and everything.
Foil, Ziploc bag, and Tupperware.
And a carry-on bag so that I could make sure everything was placed properly after I packed it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right, Jawn Murray. I appreciate it, folks. Jawn Murray. What's the website?
Find me everywhere on social media, JAWN, last name Murray, and then on Facebook, Jawn Murray World. So find me there, JAWN. No, I'm not from Philly. My mama knew nothing about the slang. She named me.
All right, then. All right, folks. We're going to go play our next installment of the interview with Leah Chase. When we come back from that, we're going to talk to the great chef Joe Randall. We'll hear from Carla Hall. And we'll also hear from some other chefs and other leaders across this country as we celebrate the life and legacy of the queen of Creole cuisine, Leah Chase. She passed away Saturday at the age of 96. This special edition of Roland Martin Unfiltered Dinner Party is all in honor of her. Here's the next installment. about, I look at my family, huge family, and whatever we get together, I mean, food is a central part. It's just, we literally congregate in the kitchen.
That's
the
important.
men in my family cook. We tell the women, y'all go and sit down. We like it that way. And plus, but my mom said, look, I'm not gonna have two sons if they bachelors. They ain't gonna be sorry. So we knew how to cook, bake.
Do everything.
All that. All that.
Yeah.
And, but the thing about cooking to me that's great is it's one of the few things in life where you're able to take something from nothing. And
That's
then
right.
it ends up, and then you get to play with it. So because you talk about experimenting, I remember I was in college and I didn't have, all I had, you talking about spaghetti. I'm in college. All I had some noodles, I had no tomato sauce, I had no meat, and I was hungry. All I had was some barbecue sauce and the noodles. And I sat there and I went, okay, I'm gonna try this. And so I put it together, it tastes good. So then when I got some money, I went ahead and got some meat sauce. That led to what I call my Texas barbecue, my Texas spaghetti, where I don't use tomato sauce. I literally will use spaghetti, barbecue sauce. Then I threw with meat sauce. And then one day, I'm just in the store, I decided to say, I'm gonna put some Italian sausage in here. And so my brother, who's an executive chef, what is wrong with you? You know, barbecue sauce. He was, all being all bougie for barbecue sauce. But we go to his house, and we walk in the kitchen, and he's fixing spaghetti. As we know, all of a sudden, I see a bottle of barbecue sauce on the counter. I said, oh, you've been privately making my spaghetti, but trashing me. That means you know it was good.
Watch them. And I tease all the chefs in New Orleans. I say, y'all stealing my stuff, but I'm going to steal yours right back.
But cooking is just, you create something.
You create something as you go. And, and you can't say, I copied this from nobody. If you work with a thing, and you may have, like he took your idea, well, that worked. So why not spread it around?
Now, do you even now when you cook go, I'm gonna throw this in there?
I do that sometimes. I do that. Right now I'm working, and I shouldn't tell you this because you'll be all over Washington selling my stuff.
They don't cook that well in D.C.
Oh, but I don't know. I'm gonna do some, what I call fish ribs. Like we do the red fish and we tenderloin it close to the bone to get all the meat. Well, I will leave enough meat on the bone and then put that in the oven and bake it with some tomatoes and stuff. And I'll hold the fish ribs.
Fish ribs.
If I see fish ribs anywhere around you, you're dead. You hear me?
No, that's a little too complicated for me. I mean, you're trying to keep the meat on the bone. That's a little too complicated there.
Because I had a friend, he was a good artist, Jawn Scott, and when we tenderloin fish, we always had to fry the bones for him because that's what he wanted, the meat off the bone. And that is the good part of the fish.
Now, you mentioned he's an artist. So what's up with the art in here? So you had this commissioned? The glass here?
Yeah, the glasses were done when we moved in here in 1984. I wanted a divider there. And I wanted visibility for the waiters when they'd go down the hall, they could still look here. So I said, well, put stained glass. Well, poor Dookie, Dookie said, good, I like stained glass. He thought I was going to do church windows or something. When I came up with what I had, he said, told the children, I think your mother's crazy. Your mother's losing her mind. Who in the world wants that? But it tells the story of my childhood. We didn't wear rags like you wear today. Right. We sold the rags to get our snowballs.
All right, so that's why you see, so they're playing here, so you're selling snowballs here. And we've got numbers here.
Yeah,
okay.
the hopscotch, and that's what you played on the side.
And is this next one, is this church? Is this,
no, that's a game my children played. It's called Rock Teacher, and you hold a rock guess in your hand and you go up a step, you go up a step. So it just talks to you a little bit.
And then you got all this other art in here. So are these friends of yours?
Friends of mine. People? I am fortunate to have been friendly with Elizabeth Catlett, was my dear friend. Sabella Lewis, John Biggers, Jake Lawrence. So I was lucky. And artists never have food. They want food, so we swapped. I came out on the good end.
There you go. So you said, hook me up with a painting.
I'll hook you up with some food.
That's
Oh, yeah,
right.
you came out. So I'm sure there's some art
came out
dealers
good,
who come in this place
Yeah.
and they say, hey, can we talk? And you said, no, you can't touch that one.
Can't touch none of them. Because, you know, I never put any emphasis on value. It's what they mean to me. I feel like when I look at the upper room, I feel like John Biggers is there with me.
Mm-hmm.
John Biggers was the nicest man. His admiration for women with
Texas
strength
Southern University.
was unbelievable. He was just the kindest, gentlest man, and he depicted women as hard-working people.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that about, well, you know, Elizabeth was just Elizabeth. She was one of the best sculptors you're going to run across. She is really good, and she liked fried oysters. So when she came, Elizabeth always came for her fried oysters. Lena Horne always came for her fried chicken. Sarah Vaughan always came for her stuffed crabs. So Lionel Hampton was a trip. Lionel would come and you had to feed him in little bowls. Little bowl of greens, little bowl of sweet potatoes, little bowl of...
Because he knew he was going to eat a lot?
So he had it all in little bowls. But they were
So you've seen everybody through here.
Everybody. And everybody came and they were just... It just makes you feel good when people think about you.
Mm-hmm.
When they think about you, it's uplifting. That's why I try to do that with people. Roland, one thing I have to do for the storm is get that takeout going. You see, because my neighbors across the street, we had the old ugly brick buildings, you remember that? And I said, oh, after the storm, I said, those ugly stack of bricks gotta go. So they picketed, they said, no, they're good, we can keep them. You come live in them, we want them. So they put up what's nice across. But some of those buildings had the finest people that went off to be doctors, and then you had the drug addicts, you had this, but even the so-called worst ones were my protection. Nobody ever hit this restaurant. Nobody ever came in here. When the storm came, we were here 65 years. Nobody ever touched anything in this restaurant. They were my policemen. They watched out everything for me, and they took care of me.
You're saying you take care of people that take care of you.
Take care of people that take care of you.
You have seen nearly a century.
Now you're getting ugly.
No, I'm not getting ugly. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
That's a good thing, huh?
And the thing that, I mean, I'll just say that's, I don't care what it is, whether you talked about all those amazing entertainers that you fed, the one thing that is constant, whether you're talking about somebody 76 years ago or 70 years ago or today, they will always talk about, man, when I had this certain meal. That's what's amazing about food.
Food is so, it makes people happy. If you give people good food and put nice things down there for them and nice things, a nice tablecloth, I'm a stickler for a tablecloth, a good napkin. I like that because I want my people and I want my customers to feel good about it. You know, when you were a little boy, you might be eating out of a jelly glass or something, but when the company come, your mama said, get out the good stuff. Company come.
That's right.
I say, everybody that hits that front door is my company. Get out the good stuff. And I want them to eat well. And you make them feel good. They relax. They come in to get a good meal.
Who do you like to cook for you?
I like service more than when you can cook me anything. You can fry me a piece of wood, but just serve it to me nice. Because if you serve people nice, they just feel so good to have somebody serving.
Great customer service. Bad customer service will put you in a foul mood.
Yeah, it's bad. You know, and there's no excuse for that. You can serve people. I love to serve people. If I could walk, I would be waiting tables on this floor. I would, because I love to do it. It's just so easy to do it. To say to a person, if they order, a person say, well, could I have this? It's my pleasure. It would be my pleasure to do that for you. That's easy, easy.
2 final questions. And so, well, the first was a 3-parter. So what is Leah Chase's favorite breakfast item?
My favorite breakfast item.
That you like to eat, not serve, but that you want to eat.
or my breakfast item would be, you know, I came up in the country, and you could not believe this, but quail is something I love.
Really?
Because I came
For
up...
breakfast?
Yes, for breakfast. Let me tell you. My mother, we lived in the country, and we had strawberry fields. That was strawberries, we picked them, and we sold them. And if the bob white quails would be in the tree, and they would come down to the strawberry patch and get, you know, you had your gun. You got that. So mother, and in the backyard, I'll never forget, we had these little plum trees. My mother used to make plum jelly.
Mm-hmm.
She would get up, and she would take those little quails. This was Sunday morning when you had time. Put them in butter, and you always had good butter because the federal government didn't give you no margarine. It gave you good butter. So when WPA gave us good butter, so we braised the quail in that good butter, brush them with a little plum jelly, eat it with some grits, good. And I served that to George W. Bush. He said, I never had that before, Leah, but I like it.
Favorite lunch food?
Oh, meatballs and spaghetti.
Meatballs and spaghetti?
I love meatballs and spaghetti. And, you know...
Breaded meatballs or all meat?
All meat meatballs.
Okay.
Good old meatballs and spaghetti. That's what I truly love. And, you know, I had a favorite general. And followed that general. I was a crazy little girl, and I think about it because I followed the war on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm following George Patton.
Mm-hmm.
I thought George Patton would just... Of course, he wouldn't work today. George would have to be more diplomatic today.
Yeah.
They would shoot him down. You couldn't do that. But I love George Patton, and I was able to be friendly with his first aide.
Mm.
Yeah, Colonel Stillman. And Stillman was a history professor at UNO. I got all George Patton's book. Found out George Patton liked meatballs and spaghetti, too.
So you were the George Patton of cooking?
George Patton of cooking. But I got to change, Roland, because it's not working, you know. I can't go around calling people a stupid jackass no more. I got to do different.
Even though they might be stupid jackasses.
But you can't call them. You got to say, now, look, darling, this is not the way this is done.
And don't you hate that?
Yes, I do.
Right, because I'm more like General Patton.
Man, yeah, come on, do your work.
And guess what? You want a general leading the war fight.
Leading the war fight. But it don't. You got to change. I got to change. It doesn't work today with these young people. They don't understand.
I know.
But if they don't understand criticism. There is such a thing as constructive criticism.
Or a critique.
Yes. So if you say, Leah, now don't you do this anymore, I'm going to say, okay, well, let me change it. And that's what made me. People coming in here saying,
there you go.
You know, no, you don't need to do this anymore because it's not good, Leah. So I listened to them. And I had so much help, I didn't know anything.
And it made you better.
Made me better.
Favorite dinner food?
My dinner food my dinner would have to be long. Got to always start with a cup of gumbo. Next thing, I want a salad.
Okay.
I want a good salad. And don't give me that little sweetie dressing. I like a lot of blue cheese, a lot of tough things. You know, I like heavy stuff. If you give me a good Italian salad, put some anchovies on it. I like that heaviness on my
Uh-huh.
And then after that, you can give me some chicken stuffed with oyster dressing and sweet potatoes.
Dessert?
That's good. I'm not too big on dessert.
Really?
No.
Oh, I am. My mom baked cakes for a living. Part of my grandma's catering business.
I'm not so big on desserts. I'd rather have me a hunk of cheese and crackers and another glass of wine.
So now I got to ask you this here. So this is the last one. So you hear this old tale that and I can't wait to hear your response, that the greatest compliment to the chef is when somebody belches at the table.
That is horrid. Your mother would rip you for that. Oh, my God, Roland, your mother would slap you down and send you to your room. Oh, you can't do that. No.
So what is the greatest compliment to the chef?
is for you to come tell me, it's just like my mama, or it's just like my grandmother, and I feel good.
Well, I would say, it's just like my mama,
or my daddy.
Yep.
Because luckily, I got both of them
Yeah.
who cooked for us growing up.
When they tell me that, I know I hit somewhere good. And they all walks of life, whites, coming black, but if they tell me it's just like my mama, I'm good.
Well,
I feel
every
good.
time every time I come to New Orleans, I always got to come by and say hello to you
Well,
and
thank
give you
you
a
so
kiss. Always love coming here, enjoying your food.
I'm proud of you, Ro.
Well, I appreciate it.
That's the advantage of living to be 94, almost 95 years old. You see people grow. I see people grow, and I'm so proud of them. You know, I feel like you could be my child. You've grown up. I feel you did something for me by just growing up and performing and doing what you have to do. It's not about you and your children all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Roland, I never felt I had to have beautiful things. No. But if you had them, I'm happy for you. I could go sit in your beautiful chair. It's yours, but I can sit in it. I can enjoy it.
Yes, you can.
And so that's a wonderful thing to see people grow. And don't let me go in the house and I see like a furniture store. I don't want to see that. I want to see a chair from your grandma's house.
Oh, yeah. No.
See
We don't have those rooms that are off limits. No, we sit on everything.
And I want to see something that your grandma had, or something that talks to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned about art. You know, years ago, what we didn't know anything about art. We thought we'd go to the grocery, buy a sofa, buy a picture to match the sofa. We learned that art doesn't have to match the sofa.
Mm-hmm.
It just can talk to you, whatever you like. So, it is warm.
Well, I tell you, what gives me fond memories of my grandmother and grandfather from Opelousas is anytime
Good cooking.
I eat gumbo. When I go home for Thanksgiving, my brother's executive chef, he fixed the turkey and dressing. I said, no, I'm coming home to eat gumbo.
Gumbo.
The rest of the family, they're eating all that stuff. I'm over here, I eat gumbo the whole weekend.
That's right.
That's my thing.
That's your thing.
Trust me.
But you came from a home of good cooking. Those people
yes.
in Opelousas can cook.
Oh yes.
Oh, they can
yes.
cook.
And I'm paying for it. And my trainer's like, okay, let's slow that down a little bit so we can take some of the weight off. But then so we can eat more of the gumbo.
Just eat, drink, and be merry and live. Enjoy living. That's the most important thing. People worry about what they have on. Nobody cares what you have on. They don't care. They care about you. They care about how you feel and what you're going to do to uplift the country you live in or the city you live in. That's all they care about. And I'm proud of you. I'm so proud.
I appreciate it.
I'm proud to
Thanks
be.
for your food. Great seeing you.
Thank you so much.
Y'all, we are having a good time here at our dinner party, honoring, of course, the great Leah Chase. She died Saturday, age of 96, the queen of Creole cuisine. We've been telling stories, eating food, laughing at her stories as well, talking about Kwame over here just cleaning the hell out of these bones. I mean, I'm talking about cleaning these bones. And so right now, we're going to go to the phone lines. Chef Joe Randall, well-known chef. Joe, how you doing?
I'm excellent, Roland. How about yourself?
Man, glad to have you here. Glad to have you here on Skype. I'm joined in the studio by Chef Rock Harper, Chef Kwame, and Greg Carr, of course, head of the Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University.
Well, we're happy to be here with all of you. Rock, I know. Kwame, I haven't met, but I'm very familiar with him, and I wish him continued success.
And we are enjoying some food here. Rock brought the fried chicken. Kwame had the jollof rice. I fixed the gumbo, and of course the spaghetti. So this is not just a normal television show. I got
throwing down.
Oh yeah. Well, so I got to ask you, just share with us your thoughts and reflections about the great Leah Chase.
Well, it's hard. Everybody that's spoken so far, I've been here through the entire show, has had wonderful things to say about Leah because she was a wonderful human being. She was a great chef and a good cook and a dear friend. It's just one of those things that you cherish her and you want to have told her that you loved her while she was living, because that's the kind of person she deserved those flowers while she was here. Everybody's got wonderful things to say about her, and it's deservedly so. But for about 30 years, everybody that I knew that was going to New Orleans, I would tell them, if they're not going to Inductee Chase and see Leah, they really shouldn't even bother to go to New Orleans. Because they're missing out on a treasure.
That's first of all, that's correct, and you own that thing absolutely. Did you ever get a chance to cook besides her in the kitchen?
Oh, I've had many occasions. The first time I cooked with her, in 1990, I was executive chef at Cal Poly Pomona University. And Leah was my first distinguished guest chef. She came out and 8 o'clock in the morning, she did a lecture demonstration for the public and my students. The president, the students prepared a luncheon for Leah and the president of the university. And after lunch, she worked in the kitchen with my students to prepare a meal for about 150 guests that night. So we had a wonderful day together that I cherish and remember to this day. If you go to my Facebook page, I've got some wonderful pictures there of her with my students back in October 22nd, 1990. But we made gumbo, you know, seafood Creole gumbo. She had a praline bread pudding, veal grillades, jambalaya. Just a wonderful day. You know she was all about food anyway, and give her a kitchen big enough she can do what she want to do, and all the help she needed, she could go to town.
That is absolutely amazing. I just, one of the things that I talked to her about, which is that, forget that. Kwame, Rocky, I got a question for Joe. I ain't got to ask all of them. What y'all got?
Well, Chef, first of all, I love you. Where you at? Right here?
Yeah, look right here.
Love you back, baby.
Yeah, and I appreciate you. I guess for a chef coming, leaving a legacy or trying to make an impact, I look back and I was reminiscing and looking on Instagram, and I saw a lot of your photos with you and Patrick Clark and Leah Chase and just, a bunch of people that came before us. I even saw a young Tim Dean. Shout out to Tim. I just wonder what would be your charge to us, the next generation, or even the generation after sort of my generation, how to keep the legacy going and make an impact like Miss Leah Chase did and like yourself as well.
Well, let me first share with you what she shared with me. About 30 years ago, I developed an organization called the United Culinary Association. It was a group of black chefs from all over the country, and we came together to be the Black Caucus within the ACF because we were paying dues with no representation. And so we decided that we were going to demand some participation and some things done to help us. Leah was very instrumental in that. She hosted a dinner in New Orleans for 2 days at a restaurant. Johnny Rivers was there, Clayton Sherrod, Willie Stinson from the CIA, chefs from all over the country. And we tried to come together with an attitude of going forward. And the one thing we came up with was the first thing we had to get professional chefs away from was denying their heritage. We all know what this is. It's hard work, long hours, and low pay in some instances. But the joy was that when people get a chance to eat what you prepare with your hands, it's rewarding. So what we tried to do is make people understand the contribution that African Americans have made to food in this country. Prior to 1983, there was no such thing as American regional cooking. It was just good food and bad food. And good food came from the South because they weren't afraid to season it. And we were the backbones in the kitchen, the black hand in the pot.
Wow. Kwame, you got a question?
I just have a statement. I just wanted to say thank you. In the same regards where I talk about Leah Chase when I think that I have it hard or I'm having a tough day, I think back to chefs like you, who I can't even put to words or conceptualize exactly the trials and tribulations that you went through, and you kept going, you know, and not for glory, not for anything other than you love the craft. And that's incredibly inspiring, and that's what keeps me going. So I just want to say thank you.
Leah Chase told me many years ago, she said, you take what you got and make that work for you. Surely everything's not going to be perfect at no time, but you are where you are. You pull yourself together. You know what you got. You work with it. You apply the best of yourself, and it'll turn out all right.
Chef Joe Randall,
Thank you.
we appreciate you joining us for this dinner party tribute to Leah Chase. Thanks a bunch.
My pleasure of being here. God bless you. Continue to go.
All right, thanks a bunch, sir. You know what? It's so interesting. We talked about you made the best of what you got. So I was telling her the story. People always asking me, talking about, man, you talk about this Texas spaghetti. Here's actually how that happened. I was in college, and hell, I mean, look, I ain't had much money and living in an apartment, and I was hungry, and so I go in the kitchen, and I'm like, damn, I had spaghetti, no tomato sauce, no hamburger meat, and barbecue sauce. I was like, I'm putting barbecue sauce with the spaghetti. That's gonna be the meal. And so when I graduated, I said I'll make me some spaghetti, and so then I could afford some hamburger meat. So then I had to put that combination together, and then because we ate spaghetti growing up, so it wasn't like I was afraid of tomato sauce, and so but it was just a different thing. And so I'm cooking. I'm like, man, I like this like better. So I use tomato sauce, but it's not predominant. It's not a marinara sauce. So then one day I was in the store one day and I said, damn, I want something different. I went, hey, I'm gonna put some Italian sausage in there. Don't ask me how in the hell. I was like, I'm just gonna put it in there. Put it in, I was like, damn, I like this here. So then versus not just the Tony Chachere Creole seasoning, I'll use oregano, basil, and thyme. So I want and parsley. So I wanted that flavor. And I use Kraft honey barbecue sauce. Kraft honey barbecue sauce. So my brother, of course, executive chef, run our family catering business. He started talking trash. I'm like, really? Like, give a damn. I was like, my house, I buy it, eat the hell I want to eat. So we had a family get together. So we go to his house, and so we all drive by. And so he's in there cooking, and I walk in the kitchen, and I go, uh-oh. I lean over and I'm like, what the hell is the barbecue sauce on the counter for?
Chef.
And you making spaghetti.
No, he didn't.
Chef.
No, he did.
Yes, he did.
No, he did.
Dogging me.
Listen, I ain't mad at him.
Dogging me.
I ain't mad at him.
He was dogging me, but privately using the barbecue sauce.
Too early. You came too early.
Making his meat sauce. Boom, that's what it was. I came too early. Making his meat sauce. I was like, So now my family, so like my niece who's in there, Atlantis, she been bugging me literally for a year to make it. I'm always so busy, whatever. And we had a family get together. Y'all go to YouTube. I literally live streamed the whole process of us making this Texas spaghetti, and we had this huge roaster. So the whole lot, so y'all see the whole deal, the chopping, everything, from beginning to washing stuff down. And I got 9 nieces for that, so everybody was in there working. I was like Leah Chase to General Patton. Watch this, grab this, go on here with this, stir that, do this here, and while the live stream is going on. But that was no point. I mean, to me, that's the beauty of cooking, Kwame. Look. Sometimes you ain't got everything, so it's like, look at here.
You gotta make it work. You gotta make it work.
And then when
sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
And then you go, well, damn, that worked. Okay, all right, I'm gonna do that again next time.
Right.
Right? Is there any example where you had to do that, where you had to make it work?
Oh man, I mean, growing up, yeah, we were po, as they say. We couldn't afford the O and the R.
Yes, sir.
So we always had to make it work. Especially when you talk about the spaghetti, and Miss Leah Chase was talking about the wieners,
Creole wieners,
and the Creole wieners spaghetti. That sounds like noodles to me. I was just asking my sister. Shout out to my sister Hawanya. I was asking her the other day about our great food memories, and she was talking about hot dogs or something. And it's just like something that we grew up in, great food in our house. Oh, yeah. But what we did to oodles of noodles, and how the struggle meals. How we hooked them up, and sliced them up with a little scrambled eggs or some boiled eggs. So yeah, you do what it do, especially in the city. It's not like, you know, with Edna Lewis, like you eat what you grow, right? In the city, you eat what's in the cabinet.
Yeah.
And if you got some noodles and 2 eggs and some baking soda, you make some puffed up, or baking powder, you make some puffed up scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
You play a mind trick on yourself. Make you think you got more than 2 eggs, and you roll with it.
Greg, you cook?
No, brother, I eat. But at Tennessee State, I was well familiar with ramen noodles and Jiffy cornbread, brother. That's what we ate. That's my struggle meal. But you know, I wonder if that's why Nat Cole, who they say always liked his egg from Montgomery, Alabama. I wonder if that was part of what Nat Cole had to eat growing up. And she talks about growing up poor. Like you said, they were on WPA relief fund as a child. Her father was, I think, a ship caulker and a farmer. Her mother did seamstress work. And they ate whatever they could get, although she did grow up part-time on the farm. But to the point that y'all raising, I mean, the improvisational nature of black food.
Listen.
I mean, that's unbelievable. And Kwame, man, when I'm hitting that jollof rice, and I love jollof rice, brother, but you got West Africa, and you say the Caribbean, you got some Trinidad and Tobago in there, too. I'm coming to your restaurant again, because what happens when you just go in the cabinet and say, I'm going to make alchemy? It's almost like jazz.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, you know, and this is a focal point of why I brought jollof rice, you know, because you asked me to bring jambalaya. And people don't know that, you know, jollof rice is the grandfather of jambalaya through West Africa.
Go ahead.
You know, and then you had, you know, the Spanish in New Orleans, and they brought their fishermen, you know, and that's how you got the crustaceans. The Germans came and threw in their andouille sausage, and now we have our jambalaya. But if you peel off the layers, it came from West Africa, and that's really the backbone of Southern cuisine, West Africa. You know, we have kunombo, which is gumbo, you know, okra stew out there that you peel back the layers and you have something that represents American cuisine. So there's no such, I don't think there's any such thing as fusion, you know, because like it's been fused long time ago out of necessity, out of human trafficking, you know, out of so many different circumstances that now it's just like if you think about the cultural history of a dish, it's easy to find what goes with that dish.
That's why, you know, Michael Twitte's book is so phenomenal. I had an interview with him, and so if you missed that, just go to my YouTube channel and just type in Roland Martin and Michael Twitte, Twitty. It's a phenomenal conversation. And his thing is you talk about food, because next up is Carla Hall. So Carla was traveling today, and so I interviewed Carla on yesterday. And the crazy thing, it was supposed to be a 10-minute conversation, it went 50 minutes. And when I was talking to her, when I had Nikki Giovanni on, she had a new book out. And we literally talked about her poetry book for about 5 minutes. And for the rest of the 50-minute conversation, we talked about food.
Yeah.
She talked about all these different dishes. She talked about I forgot what she said. Maya Angelou, she said, yeah, she really thought she could make that, but she really didn't. But she was talking about it was like all these foods back and forth. And it was just it was an unbelievable conversation. We barely talked about poetry. So the thing that Carla and I talked about, y'all about to see this, is that is the thing that food is the link. It's the common denominator. It brings people around the table with different backgrounds. And you're able to talk, you can do whatever. And I just think about, like, every time you have a get-together at a house, okay? I had a party at my house. It was a 10,000 square foot house, 3 levels. Guess where everybody was?
Around the kitchen.
In the kitchen. Now, thank goodness it was a good-sized kitchen, but it was like, I was like, hey, y'all, that's a whole, like, the bottom floor.
Empty.
It was like bar down there, wide space. No, didn't nobody want to. It's the kitchen.
Yeah.
I mean, it is that central location. So for my family, that's why, you know, every house I've had, the kitchen flows right into the living room, because that's just where we are.
Yeah.
So ain't no sense in having a cordoned-off kitchen. Look, just go, y'all. Kitchen, living room, boom, everybody right there, all together. All right, y'all. Carla Hall, Chef Carla Hall, you know, of course, from the Chew, of course, all of the great work that she does. She, of course, wanted to be here, but we had an opportunity to talk with her yesterday to get her thoughts about Leah Chase, and here's that discussion. What's going on?
What's up, Roland S. Martin?
Well, first of all, we're actually in the same place in D.C., which is quite rare. We were sitting trying to figure out. Yeah, we saw each other recently. I have no idea where. I'm just trying to think. it was.
The reason we can't figure it out is because we're always traveling and we're always in another space doing
Right.
events.
So it's like I don't know if it was L.A., if it was New York,
Yeah.
if it was. I have absolutely no idea.
Me either.
But it's all good. It's all good. Well, I have you here because, of course, over the weekend we lost the great Leah Chase, and she was, I mean, absolutely great woman. And when we were talking, so you had the opportunity to actually be with her in her kitchen.
Yes, yes. I was with her in February, cooking with her. There was an event or a conference called Radical Exchange, and Ashton, and I can't remember Ashton's last name, and she and her partner were doing this event with all of these culinary folks, and Michael Twitte was there, and a lot of people in the beverage industry, and we had a dinner at Inductee Chase, and I actually got to cook with her in her kitchen, which a lot of people don't do.
Right.
And Miss Chase...
She's real particular.
She's really particular.
She was particular about her kitchen.
And she was in the kitchen. She was in there, and granted, she was sitting down, and she was talking about my hair. She was like, girl, what's up with your hair and being so big and frizzy? She said, you need to Creolize that hair.
Creolize?
I was like, what is that? What do you mean?
Creolize that hair?
Creolize, as in straighten. As in straighten my hair. She went on for at least 30 minutes about it.
And she also, you showed me a photo. She was cracking on Ashton as well.
Yes,
Who had,
Ashton has a nose ring.
Nose ring.
She was like, "Girl, we have moved past that, you know, as a people." So she honestly just was so funny and so alive, and the respect and the love that's in that kitchen, in the restaurant with all of the art. You know, when we lost her over the weekend, I, even more so than I did at the moment, felt like, wow, I got to touch and to feel and to be around her greatness. And more than anything, and she was 96 years old, and she lived just a beautiful life. More than anything, you know what I realized and what I appreciated was that we celebrated her while she was here.
Yep, absolutely.
There's so many times when we lose somebody and we're like, oh, you know, in retrospect, let's celebrate them.
Yep. Well, what was interesting, so in this line of work, for me, the opportunity to be able to sit down with, interview, talk to somebody, profile them, and I am very particular about our legends because. Just to be able to have the conversation with them. And especially for me, our folks who, first of all, I interview lots of people, but especially our people who are 70 and over. And so here's why. When I was at Savoy Magazine, I was a news editor. They wanted to do a piece on the artist Biggers out of Houston. And it was supposed to be, I forgot the year, but it was like for like the November issue. Then they pushed it. I had talked to his wife. I had talked to him on the phone. Then they pushed it 3 months, and he passed away. I think he was 77 when he passed. And I vowed then, I said that will never happen again.
Yes.
And so I'm very sort of like anal about these amazing African Americans who are doing stuff and getting their story on tape.
Yeah, and just intentional because, you know, it's all well and good after the fact, but I feel like after the fact there are, with everybody else, it's a box to tick off. You know, let's focus on them. Oh, they were so great. If they were so great, why weren't you focusing on them when they were here with us? And I was there with, I was actually hosting the James Beard Awards in 2016 when Leah Chase won the Lifetime Achievement Award, or she was being recognized. And
that was 2016, so that's 3 years ago. She was 93.
Yes.
And that's, but that goes to the point that you're making, though, that first of all, ain't that many folks living to their 90s, and it's one of those things that, no, for somebody like that, no, you recognize folks in their 50s or 60s or 70s versus, going in terms of that long. And that's just one of the things that I think is so important when we think about artists, when we think about, whether it's, legendary chefs, when we think about all these people, to your point, give them their praise now versus posthumously and allow them to bask in that.
Yes, right? And to pass the torch. And that was another thing about Miss Leah. She was always reaching back and bringing somebody up. Do you know what I mean? So I brought the book that she gave me, and she says, to Chef Carla Hall, one great chef, enjoy life. Grateful to you, Leah Chase, 2/4/2019.
Now, first of all, here's what was great. First, she put the date.
Yes.
I can't tell you how it drives me absolutely crazy when book authors, there's a sign, I go, put the date. Matter of fact, I jack up my wife all the time. I'm like, put the date. Yeah. Because when people sign my books, I tell them, put the date.
Yeah.
And some people may say, okay, there's really no big deal, but it's like, no, it's a point. It's a point in life as well. And the point about enjoy life was interesting is that, that was her. She was in that kitchen in a walker, in a chair.
Yes.
When I interviewed her 2 years ago, she came out. She was taking her time. But when we sat down and we started talking, her whole deal was about, and in fact, her last words were, look, just enjoy life. Just eat, have fun, enjoy life.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why, for me, I know her family misses her and it seems sad, but for me, it feels like that New Orleans Southern sending off because she was so joyful. And every time you saw her, she had this big smile on her face. And it's about a celebration of her life. And of course, that's easy for me to say because I'm on this side of things, but just her energy level when I saw her in February was making jokes and laughing and tasting food. And then I was feeding her, I was doing a sorghum salad and she was eating that and she would taste it. She'd look at me, she's chewing it, she said, I like it. That. But she was processed. She wasn't just somebody to just say, okay, I'm going to do this. She would think about it. She would absorb it. She would then give her opinion about it,
Well, see, that's why I think one of the things we talked about was, and I said to her, I said, some people, they eat to live, but they're afraid. People in Louisiana live to eat.
Yeah.
And the thing about especially black folks in food. I was recently at a party at the billionaire Robert Smith's house in Malibu, and all these people, different places, and so like all these black folks were congregated in the kitchen, and so we're staying. So Tyrese, Chauncey Billups, Al Harrington, a bunch of the people. And I said, y'all notice we are in the kitchen, and it's one for us. It's one of those things that when it comes to food, when it comes to, you can have a party, and I don't care how big your house is, folks are going to hang out where the food is.
Exactly. Even in her restaurant. So Miss Leah was right there, and there was something going on. They were doing a repast in the kitchen. There were about 50 people. We're prepping now for a dinner that night. 50 people coming through, taking a picture, because that's what it was. Even at her restaurant, people were coming through the kitchen.
Right.
Her desk was right there in the entrance, between the dining room and the kitchen, and they were like, this is what she does. So.
And it wasn't off limits.
Right,
and that's the piece. That's the piece.
Right.
One of the other things that obviously when you think about this history, first of all, that location, you think about the people who came through. That's the other thing you talk about her life, the people who she literally fed. She fed a who's who of America, but absolutely Black America.
Absolutely. All of these people coming through the civil rights meetings that were happening there, Martin Luther King, of course, President Obama. But when she said, you know what, my place is going to be integrated, better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I don't care that it's against the law. This is what we're doing here, So hats off to her for that.
talk about the respect that other black chefs have, because the reality is, when you think about when you look at all of these. In fact, we were at the Boulé Convention last year. You did this session with these, and then you talk about food, and they were fusing in from Africa and other countries. That you sort of had. Let's just be honest. You had this sort of this white standard.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
in terms of, who gets, who's the 5-star chef or the 4-star, whatever the heck it is, and who's the award-winning chef, as opposed to, for us, black people, we've known people who can cook,
Yeah.
who can throw down.
That's right.
Who don't have any awards hanging on their wall, and don't also abide by whatever somebody else's licensing standards. And
yes.
you're like, oh no, I'll put my grandmama up against any of y'all French chefs or whatever
Yes.
when it comes to who throw down.
Yeah.
And that to me also speaks to who she was. Yes, she got these awards and accolades, but she was a down-home black woman cooking.
Yeah, yeah, and she didn't even set out to study that. She started working, and she loved food, and so when she was married to Inductee Chase, I mean, she was like, I'm coming into this restaurant, and we're gonna change the food that we serve here. And it was some down-home food. Even when you look in the book, here's boiled spare ribs with sweet potatoes. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like, boil them, don't let them fall apart, put them on a plate, season it. And I think there is something about just that she unapologetically served this food that she loved and from her heritage. And it wasn't about, is it good enough to serve to white people? Is it good enough to serve to whomever? We're going to come together around the table, and I'm going to serve you what's in my heart.
What she also said in the interview, which was very interesting, she said that all these New Orleans restaurants, they were serving French food. They were not serving gumbo and jambalaya and crawfish etouffee.
Yes.
So really what Inductee Chase changed. So people talk about, the food in New Orleans today. Inductee Chase, black people,
Yeah.
changed the entire palette
Yeah.
of New Orleans.
Right. Right. Right.
That was what was crazy because when I played the interview back, and I was like, whoa, I said, what did she just say?
Right, right. When you think about it, right? So you're telling me something. She was the one. And so when you talk about other chefs who look up to her, I mean, Marcus Samuelson, and not just black chefs, white chefs as well look up to her. John Besh, who was in New Orleans, and all of these people who are in New Orleans looking up to her and beyond, because she was doing things that other people weren't doing. She was elevating our food in a restaurant, a white tablecloth restaurant, and showing our food. And when you look at other places around the country, even when we have, let's take hot chicken, because I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And not that it's at, well, I guess it is at some white tablecloth restaurants. But you have Prince's being the person who started that, the restaurant that started that. But it has gone on the other side of the tracks in Nashville, where some people don't even realize it was started, by Prince's. All of a sudden somebody takes it and, it becomes...
Well, like most of our history.
True.
Right.
But I really think we give it away. A lot of times we give it away. We demonize our own food, I think. We don't own it. I don't think a lot of us know that we should be proud of our contributions.
Right.
And that we started this. You know what I mean? Because if we're cooking for people, this is how you carry culture. What Leah Chase was doing was carrying the culture and spreading it throughout New Orleans.
Is that it? All right, folks, that was the Carla Hall interview. Joining us right now on the phone line, folks. We were supposed to end at 8 o'clock, but there's no way I could not get this man's thoughts and perspective on Leah Chase. My alpha brother, former ambassador to the United Nations, former mayor of Atlanta, lieutenant to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a man who is accomplished in his own right, an amazing brother, Ambassador Andrew Young. Doc, how you doing?
I'm all right, but you should start out. I grew up about 6 blocks from Inductee Chase.
I know that. That was going to lead. That was the first question. That's why I said we got to hear from Andrew Young about Leah Chase.
Yeah. No, it's she's a wonderful spirit that will always be with us. They'll always be talking about Sister Leah. And I heard her we honored her at the United Negro College Fund then a couple of years ago, and when she received the honor, she gave one of the most significant civil rights speeches I have ever heard. So she talked about the blessings that we've received and how we need to pass them on to future generations. And she got everybody that she spoke from what I've been meaning to say. I mean, I've been fighting for this in Atlanta and losing. So I would like to see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No,
6,
go ahead.
7,
We got you. We got you. Go ahead.
That she talked about how beautiful everybody was. And she said, but now y'all need to wear those same dresses next year. And for 2 reasons. One, you look good now. You don't need to look different next year. In fact,
watch out.
You need to be able to get your big butts in that dress next year. And so she was, for somebody who majored in food, she was very conscious that you eat and you eat well and you can look good. And I don't know how it happens, but she never, according to some people, us people from New Orleans are supposed to die young. The way we eat.
Right.
And what we eat. I mean, everything I eat is not on the doctor's list. But, and I haven't figured that out. But she was very conscious. And then, her grandson is here in Atlanta, Victor Heidel. And he and Hank Aaron have a series of restaurants together. And the thing that he got from her was a business ethic. I mean, he runs 25 or so, franchises. And he keeps the business going, and he's about business. And he's also, they say by their fruits you shall know them. He also supports an orphanage in Haiti. And he goes down there once a year. And he's on the board with another young lady from New Orleans, Panchita Pierce, on her foundation in New York, where they're helping, people who in a Catholic mission. I forget what it's called, but and then here in Atlanta, he's a civic leader, and he's not running for anything, but he's into everything and he supports everything, and that came from Leah Chase.
Ambassador Young, what was amazing was the meetings held there, the civil right workers she fed, the people who would come there. She said, I would give them some gumbo and some fried chicken, and they would go out there, whether they were freedom riders, SNCC workers, SCLC workers. You can't have a movement unless folks are able to eat.
Well, yeah, but just like Pascal in Atlanta,
yep,
the meeting and the planning was done at Inductee Chase in New Orleans. In fact, SCLC was founded in New Orleans in 1957.
Wow.
Now, I was not in that meeting. I was still living in New York. But I'm sure they could not have gotten a founding without Martin Luther King going by Dookie Chase.
Well, she fed a who's who of America and certainly a who's who of Black America. You know, I'm sure there's somebody out there who's probably saying, Roland, why in the world would you sit here and going past 2 hours celebrating a chef? But I certainly believe, Ambassador Young, that we've got to give our folks they do.
She was not. She was a businesswoman who led the town from her business.
Wow.
And you know, but there's nothing demeaning about being a chef
at all.
Because I mean, I always think of restaurants as like communion, and I said that in church one time, and a lady, you know, kind of took me down about it. But I said, you know, that Jesus said, when you break bread and drink wine, I'll be with you. And I said, that is not only true in church. I said, whenever what the scripture is saying, that whenever we're sharing love and food, there is the presence of God in the midst of where 2 or 3 of us are gathered together. There is the kingdom of God. That the kingdom of God is in our midst. And that's the message that Leah Chase passed on. I can't think of his first name now. Rudy Lombard.
Yeah.
Rudy wrote a book on New Orleans chefs.
Well, Tanya Lombard, of course, her niece was supposed to be with us. The family is still grieving, and so, matter of fact, I'm texting her, letting her know how well the show is going. You know, we've certainly lost a great one. She lived 96 years. She packed a whole lot in those 96 years, and I just wanted to definitely be able to hear from you. You just turned 87 years young in March. And
That's right.
You still handling your business. I heard you were down at Operation Hope's Global Hope Forum, teaching as always. And it's always great, the chance to talk with you. We appreciate you, we love you, and we thank all that you've done for us. And thanks for joining us at Roland Martin Unfiltered. And I appreciate you always return my phone calls when I call.
All right, God bless you.
All right, my brother, thank you so much.
And thanks for telling the world that the spirit of Leah Chase has gone home, but is still with us in all of those who have broken bread in her presence.
Absolutely. Andrew Young, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right.
It's always something, Kwame, talking to cats like that.
Yeah.
Always.
So much depth, you know, and any topic they want to talk about, they have so much to pull from, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why I got to support Roland Martin. Did you hear what Jesse Jackson mentioned Johnson earlier, Reverend Johnson? Jackson, rather, not the Joseph Jackson. Those young cats had to break with the Baptist Convention.
Yeah.
SCLC was the young ministers. I'm saying that to say this. When you young people go back and listen to this broadcast, this conversation, get your notebook out. There's a whole curriculum that's going to have to accompany this 2 hours and a half.
Ashton, young lady, Carla Hall talked about her. Ashton put on this event in February at Dookie Chase's. Carla said definitely give her a call. I wanted to research. She's going to be our last guest before we go here. Ashton, Ashton, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
It's great talk to you. I wanted just to get your thoughts. You organized this event, Dookie Chase, took place about 3 months ago. Just your thoughts about just the fabulous Leah Chase.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? You kind of broke
Just
up.
your thoughts about the fabulous Leah Chase.
Oh, well, so the dinner that I did at Dookie Chase was a part of a larger symposium and conference that focused on Black people's contribution to hospitality. And I thought that I was just going to go into Dookie Chase, talk to Miss Leah Chase, get her to say yes, she was going to work with Carla Hall, and then that would be it. And that's not what happened. What happened was I spent 2.5 months going into Inductee Chase, asking for her blessing, getting to know her before she finally was like, yeah, okay, I'll do this dinner. And I can say she changed me. I mean, there was days as a Black woman who's in the hospitality industry and owns her own business, there were days where I was really having a hard time. And I remember one of the things she said to me was, look at me. And I looked her in the eye and I was kind of tearing up. And she said, this ain't made for the faint of heart. She said, I never took you to be someone who would back down from a challenge. And I said, I'm not. And she said, okay, well, wipe your tears because we got work to do and we got a dinner to put on. And, you know, she gave you that grandmother, hard, tough love, but still was so warm. And she taught me a lot about running a business. I mean, you know, there was somebody on Instagram, that Secretary Wilson, that said, when one of your ancestors passes, it's like a library burned down. And I feel like people didn't even know the breadth of knowledge that woman had. I feel as if there is a whole group of generations that I am mourning for them, that they will never have access to the layers of knowledge that woman had. I was with her for 6 months, and I not only formed a bond with her, I formed a bond with her daughter, Miss Stella, to the point that I kept going in, even though the event was over, because every time I went in there, I felt healed. I felt as if I was closer to truth. I felt as if I was being held accountable for how I moved through space. And there's not a lot of people who look at you and see you. I'm not talking about look at you and see what you do, but I'm talking about see you. And she saw me in a way that, like, I can't put into words, and it wasn't just me. But she was also like, she was also a hellraiser. That's why I loved her, right?
Oh no, Carla told me.
Like,
Carla told me she was.
Carla said it, but like.
Carla said that she was cracking on your nose ring.
Oh my goodness! So I could not go in there without getting like cracked on. If it wasn't the nose ring, it was the hair. It was like, I know you ain't coming up in my spot looking with your hair like that. And I'm like, wow. I wear it natural, Miss Chase. She was like, I don't care what it is. You lay it down, flick it down, get it together. Like, she all the time was like, and, you know, I'm real kind of like funky. You know, and she just always had the jokes for me. Always had the jokes for me. And I loved it though, because that's how my family, I feel like that's how Black families operate.
Right.
And I knew that she cared for me when she didn't treat me differently than she treated her family members. When she was as hard on me as she was on her family members, where her expectations of me were as high as they were for her family members. It made it clear to me that she wasn't holding me to that standard because she wanted to make it hard. She was holding me to that standard because that was the way that she was showing that she had love and care for me. And not a lot of people love you like that anymore. Not a lot of people love you with accountability so that you can get to the next level. And I will always be grateful for that. I will always be grateful that a girl that she didn't know from anybody else coming off the street and asking her to do this dinner with Carla Hall, that she said yes. And that she told me, when she said yes, she said, I'm doing this because I believe in you. So don't you disappoint me.
Heck of a challenge.
Ashton, we appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
An amazing
Thank you
tribute.
for honoring her.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
That was a sermon right there, y'all.
That was a word. Yeah.
Say something, weren't you, bro?
Well, I had some of my staff members, they went down to that dinner because it was, you know, celebrating female hospitality and hospitality people in the hospitality industry of color. And they told me about how amazing that dinner was. And I wanted to tell her that, but your dinner was great.
We got a number.
Okay.
We'll get a number. Have you call it.
Yeah.
Rock, final words.
Well, first, Roland, I don't know. You know, you do a lot. I mean, that's an understatement. And you know, I applaud you for everything that you do for our community and our voice. But this, as a chef, this really rings special and true for me. So I just want to thank you personally and for all the other. I know there's so many, you know, chefs you could have up here, but the fact that you're honoring her, I know it's really important to you, but it's extremely important. Not just she was more than a chef, and just what Ashton sort of alluded to or really stated emphatically. There's so much knowledge and story behind the food. Like, it's not about the chicken, it's what's behind the chicken.
That's right.
So I want to thank you and tell you I really appreciate that. And the last thing I'll say is that Ms. Chase reminded me of my grandmother. She reminds me of my mother, of my aunts. And I know because people were traveling, it was an all-male panel up here in the studio, but we gotta celebrate and we gotta remember that black women put us here. I don't care what type of food we cook. Women started all of this, and the black woman in this country, right, like Leah Chase, gave us, is not just the food. And we have to remember that, especially as a chef, but as people moving forward. I think it's extremely important for us to honor that legacy and to carry on. So thank you for doing that today. I really appreciate it.
Great, Carl.
Absolutely. I want to add my thanks, Roland. I mean, you know, Ashton and Carla and then Rock and Kwame, the next generation has taken the baton, her own grandson and the next generation. And you cats burn it up in here today, man. I mean, I'm just sitting here like, whew, still echoing. And I couldn't leave here and not, you know, I can't go back home to Nashville if I don't mention the fact that I'm an eater, but my first great chef was Catherine Carr, my mother. Their hot water cornbread, chitlins, which I, you know, still partake of every once in a while. But the last thing I say is this: the last time I was in New Orleans, the last thing I did before I got on the plane was stop by Inductee Chase. One thing I'll agree with Ralph Ellison on is this: my strength comes from.
Your mic fell off. Hold on. Let's get your mic. Your mic fell off.
You did it?
Yeah.
All right. Let me pull it there.
Yeah, we want.
I got you. Keep going.
Oh, you got me?
Yeah, we want to get you.
Oh yeah. Did it fall off? Yeah. Oh, I appreciate it.
There we go. All right, we got
I'll
it.
say it right quick.
Go ahead.
Like I said, shout out my mother, Catherine Carr, the first great cook that I ate from. So another black woman, as you said.
Yeah, go ahead and clip it on. Just clip it on.
So Leah Chase, of course, coming out of a tradition where her own mother raising her with her father, and then getting that cooking gene into the space where she then comes into that restaurant where her mother-in-law was, and they battled. I mean, part of the reason there are red walls in Inductee Chase is because she said, I got to get rid of this pink and blue. My mother-in-law loves this pink and blue. But at any rate, last thing I did before I left New Orleans, last time I was in New Orleans, was stop by Inductee Chase and get a bowl of what I always eat in New Orleans, and there's no place to better eat it than Inductee Chase. And like Ralph Ellison said, my strength comes from Louis Armstrong. That's one thing I agree with him on. Every day of his life, they said Armstrong did two things. I won't mention the other one, but the thing that he ate was red beans and rice.
Yeah.
So I had me a bowl of red beans and rice and got on the plane coming back here. But I'm telling you right now, Leah Chase will always be alive, because as long as you cats are burning in the kitchen, and that's always going to be the case, we will have a place to come together to plot our liberation. So I feel like the future's in good hands. Appreciate you, Roland.
So, folks, my final thoughts. So this is how this whole thing got started, literally. Monday, I was sitting in the office, and I was thinking about how we're going to pay tribute. In fact, what happened was the interview that we had with her, we were going to run it on Monday. Something happened with our hard drive. So I said, well, we'll just run it tomorrow. So then I'm sitting in the office, and then I said, why don't we do something different? Why don't we call this person? So it literally started with, hey, who's here? What chefs could we call? So, of course, I always talk to Rock. We've always done stuff. Like, well, call Rock. So then I said, hold up, Carla Hall. I got a number. Call Carla. And we had Michael Twitte on the show. I said, well, call Michael Twitte. And then I went with Tanya Lombard, her niece. I know Tanya. Then I looked out of the window, and so this table is actually behind this counter. Normally, this is not our set. And I said, how high is that table? And I said, what if we do a dinner party? And I thought about the last interview where she talked about feeding folks spaghetti and meatballs, fried chicken, and gumbo, and jambalaya. And that's actually how the request came together, because that conversation. So then all of a sudden it was kind of like, well, this piece and this piece. And the next thing I know, I was kind of like, okay, well, who can bring what? And Rock said, I'll bring the fried chicken. And then when Jackie said, well, Kwame's going to bring the jollof rice. And I said, well, dang, I don't have much time. But luckily, my dad was here in December, my parents. Well, he left me 3-4 bags of roux in my freezer. Wow. And so I was like, cool, I can just put the bag, put them in the pot. I just shrimp, sausage, and chicken. Boom, we can move on. And then I thought about the spaghetti and meatballs, and I was hoping another chef would make that. And I'm like, well, what the hell? My niece been bugging me about making Texas spaghetti, and that's how this whole thing came together. And so I was in the store last night, and so we tablecloth and the glass, and people give me all this alcohol y'all don't even drink, so I just say, just bring all this wine in. So they gonna take this stuff home because I don't drink this stuff. And so we began to put this thing together, and so then I said, well, let's push it from Tuesday. Tanya couldn't do Tuesday; she said I could do Wednesday, but again, she had to cancel, and I appreciate her just even considering it, and I appreciate the whole Leah Chase family. But you heard me tell Carla Hall this, you heard me say it earlier, that John Biggers story. Not being able to interview John Biggers and waiting because the magazine pushed it has forever changed me, because anytime I come across one of our ancestors, we gotta have their story. Every time I see one of our greats, I want to get them on tape. I don't care with the camera, I don't care what it is, because I'm so conscientious of their voice and being able to hear. You heard Ashton saying losing one of our elders means losing a library. That's why for me, Harry Belafonte, Hank Aaron, I mean, I can go down the line. This is also why black media matters. Because the reality is, no mainstream cable network would have even remotely thought of this. If anybody who's a black host of any one of these shows went to their bosses and said, I want to do a 2-hour special on Chef Leah Chase, they would get laughed out of the office. The reason it's important is because we shouldn't give this level of attention to the likes of just and Aretha Franklin. Think about when Maya Angelou died, we did the special on her. When Ruby Dee died, we did the special on her. Whether it was Muhammad Ali, we had that particular special. Every time one of our greats, we always did a tribute because I believed we needed to be able to tell the story. Nelson Mandela, we called in Ron Dellums, and we called in all these different people. We called in Carolyn Hunter Williams, who was the sister who worked at Polaroid, who was with Ken Williams, with the Polaroid Revolutionary Workers. They're the ones who actually started the divestment campaign against apartheid. They started before the CBC did. We had her on the show. Other networks were not going to have her on. Y'all keep hearing me tell you why we have to have this. Because if we don't have these platforms, we don't have the place to be able to hear these voices. Let's just be real honest. You wouldn't have heard the things that Kwame had to say and Rock had to say, and the reflections of Greg and John Murray and Joe Randall and Carla Hall and Ashton and Reverend Jackson and Andrew Young and Marc Morial if you have no place to do it. So you can have thoughts and memories, and yes, you can share those things on Instagram and on Twitter, but it's a different thing when you begin to put those things together, just like a meal. You can have a glass of wine by itself. You can have a piece of chicken by itself. You can have a bowl of gumbo, jollof rice by itself, but it's a whole different deal when you put it all together on the table and you have a full meal. That's what this is all about. I turned 50 in November, and I could have easily said I'm going to work for a mainstream media outlet. I could have easily knocked on doors and say, oh, please, 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 can I be a contributor? What can we do? I said, no, we're going to do this here. And there's people who told me, you're crazy, you shouldn't do this here. People said, look, how much is money going to cost? And the reality is, it has cost. I said this, people, my staff knows this, I don't get a salary from this show. We have not built the show to the point where I can pay myself. This is no different. They can probably attest. This is no different when you start a restaurant. Yo, you got to pay everybody else. You got to pay the food bill. You got to pay your grocery. You got to pay your distributor. You got to pay your staff just to keep the doors open. But the point is to build it so you're able to do so. We must be able to have something that is ours. Dookie Chase's was ours. Pascal's was ours. Sylvia's was ours. they were places that we could congregate. Sweats in Nashville, that was ours. You had restaurants in Houston and other places, ours. This is why Roland Martin Unfiltered exists. Because I am not asking somebody white, can I? I'm not begging them, can you please give Leah Chase 30-second mention on the air? No. That's why Ebony Magazine mattered so much under John H. Johnson. That's why Jet Magazine mattered so much. That's why Chicago Defender mattered so much under Robert Abbott. That's why the Atlanta Daily World mattered so much under A.I. Scott. That's why the Pittsburgh Courier mattered. That's why Ida B. Wells mattered. That's why Frederick Douglass and the North Star mattered. That's why all of these black media outlets matter, because we didn't have to ask somebody else, please, can you tell our story? The first black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, said in March of 1827 in its lead editorial, we wish to plead our own cause, and too long have others spoken for us. We are at a point where we're 24 years away from America being the nation majority people of color. And how sad will it be if we don't have restaurants to serve our food to our liking with our seasoning? How sad would it be if we had places that didn't play our music? How sad would it be if we don't have media outlets that controlled and told our story the way we wanted it to be told? I ask of you to support this show, not because, because of what I've done in the past. No, because when you support this show, you support the future stories like Leah Chase. And here's also why you support this show. Because 30, 40, 50 years from now, 60 years from now, 70 years from now, when someone else is talking about Rock Harper, they're going to be able to pull this interview. Talking about Kwame, they're going to pull this tape. But if the tape doesn't exist, they will not be able to show it. That's why we must control our narrative. Do you support us, folks? Go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can join our Bring the Funk fan club, Cash App, PayPal, Square. And here's my last point. If black folks did not go to Dookie Chases, it wouldn't exist today. If black folks don't support other entities, they do not exist. We also must fund our freedom. For us, by us. It's not a slogan. It's a lifestyle. It's a mantra. It is a state of mind, which means that we have to actually do it. And so we certainly want to extend our condolences to the Leah Chase family. Her homegoing will be in the next few days. New Orleans, of course, has a huge celebration on their hand. They're not mourning her. They celebrate in New Orleans. 96 years of life. And so I want to thank every person who contributed to this show, our staff as well. They want me to stop talking because they want to go eat some of this food in the back. And so right now, our last thing is, Rock, you can go ahead and bring the bread pudding out.
All right.
So I have put out something on Twitter, and I said, can somebody in the DMV bring the bread pudding by? And Rock texted me while I was cooking. Rock said, yo, I got the bread pudding. And so, folks, I want you to share this video. But again, I want you to support us as well. I would love nothing more than to have 1,000 of our folks contribute at least $50, whether it's each month or whether it's a one-time payment, to join our Bring the Funk fan club. This is why we do this show. This is why this show matters, and we need you to make it happen. Folks, I'm going to see you tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered. Have a great one. Enjoy your meal. We are about to enjoy this bread pudding.